ज्ञानशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनं हृद्यन्तस्तु अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलोकैक दृक्पद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिद्वंतोतितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मद एक बंधु मत संगेन मद गुरुन् मन महादन मद निष्ठारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीचता कराहा ना मुंचा कदाचिन्मा प्रेम न हृत कंथयो स्पुरः। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Hare Krishna everyone, welcome. Thank you all so much for joining. So please, if you like, please turn on your cameras so we can have one-to-one discussion if possible. Okay, so thank you all so much. So we are in Canto 3, chapter number 20, and we discussed up to text number 37 last time. So 3, 20, 37, right? And just a quick overview of what we are discussing here. So we discussed how the entire theme of the third canto is focused on the aspect of sarga, like creation, like primary creation, and then visarga, secondary creation. So that was the main theme going on, but then we had that whole discussion with um, um, yeah, Hiranyaksha. We talked about like how Hiranyaksha, how the earth was actually submerged, and then how Varahadev actually came and picked up, how he just killed Hiranyaksha, and then that led to a whole discussion of 7 chapters. And now we are coming back to the point about the creation. So in this chapter, chapter 20, we get like a kind of overview of creation. Right? What we have already discussed before is actually summarized, plus additional information is actually given. right? So that's what we are seeing in chapter 20, where Vidura is actually asked about, like, how did Brahma actually create the living entities from the Prajapatis? How did that happen? And when all the Prajapatis were created, did they create with their wives or did they create together? Like, how did that happen? I want to know that, right? So that's basically Vidura's question. And then Maitreya Rishi, he starts off by the whole system of how there was the Pradhan, then Mahat Tattva, then Ahankar in three modes that actually gave you to Gyan Shakti, Dravya Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and that led to all the elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, the senses, the sense objects, the sense devatas. So he talked of all that. And then he made the point that yes, all the sense devatas were created, but they could not still work together. They could not actually get the energies to work together, and hence they prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord entered into the energies so that they could actually come together, right? They can actually be amalgamated. That's the word used. And then after the amalgamation, then the universe was created, and that's described as a golden egg. The egg was created, the golden universe. And then after the universe was created, it was lying for 1,000 years on this on Karana Ocean, right? And then the Lord actually enters into each one of the universe. Each bubble, the Lord himself enters as Garbhodakshay Vishnu. He fills half of the universe with water. He lays on the Garbhodak Ocean, and then from the navel of the Lord comes the lotus flower, and on top of the lotus is Brahma who is born. So up to this point is the primary creation. Then from Brahma onwards is secondary creation, right? So then we started reading how Brahma, after he was born, he did, that part is not described why he did all the meditation, how he got knowledge from the Lord, because that was discussed before. Here actually says how he starts creation. And the first thing that Brahma creates is the five kinds of ignorance, right? Because he knows the entire purpose of this material world is actually for those living entities who are conditioned, who are bewildered, and who have turned away from Krishna. So for them to actually even try to enjoy separate from Krishna, there has to be coverings of ignorance. Hence, he creates five kinds of ignorance. Right? But then, Brahma himself, like he's a empowered personality, was thinking like, oh, I've created all this ignorance. And he wasn't happy with that creation. And then he actually decided to give up that body, right? He gave up that body, and the body was immediately became darkness, because ignorance is compared to darkness. So it became darkness and night, and that was actually taken up by, it actually this turned, right? So this actually turned into night, and this was accepted by personalities who are known as Yakshas and Rakshasas. Right? And then it's interesting that how these personalities who appeared, they actually turned to Brahma and they said, Brahma, we want to eat you. It's like you create something and the same personality is coming to eat you. Right? Um, the thought came to my mind, like how now we have all this AI, right? And people say like, oh yeah, we'll create all this AI. And then one day the AI itself will come and take over all the human beings. Probably that's already happening. But it's interesting that how Brahma, he created Yakshas and Rakshasas we created, and they came to eat Brahma himself. And then Brahma actually, he got frightened. And he said, like, I created you, don't eat me. Rather, you protect me, right? And so those, so there's a Rakshasas and Yakshas and Rakshasas, right? And then after that, it's described that then after that, then Brahma actually, he said, okay, no, I have to create something positive. He actually created devatas, the demigods were created from his effulgence, right? Shining with effulgence. Then Brahma actually created the demigods. So that was the daytime. And because, Rakshasas are associated with night, but demigods are associated with the daytime, right? So demigods were created. And then after that, then the demons were created from the buttocks of Brahmaji. And then the demons actually approached Brahmaji for sex. Right? And then Brahma was like, he started laughing. Like, so how ridiculous is this? Like, you create, like his own creation is now approaching him from sex to males. And then he laughed, but then he actually realized that they were actually so shameless. They are really approaching him. So he became fearful. And then he took shelter of Krishna and he said, Krishna, I actually created all these sinful demons. By your order, I'm doing all this creation, but now they're chasing me after me for sex. And then the Lord came, he appeared, he said, cast off, give up with this body, this impure body of yours, give it away. And we discussed that when we say that Brahma gives up his body, It is actually giving up his subtle body, in the sense that his mentality, right? It's not, Brahma lives for 100 years, so it's not that he's just, every episode he's just like giving up his physical body. It's just a mentality he gives up, right? And then that mentality actually becomes twilight. And then twilight is actually concerned with the mode of passion. And then the asuras, they actually appear. And then we have been reading how the asuras, they saw twilight, and every aspect of twilight, they were, because they're so lusty, right? We discussed this point. Like where our mind is, what our desires is, that's what we see everywhere. You're buying something, you want to buy something, you're okay, I need to buy this car. And then everywhere you're driving, all you see, oh, this car, this car, this car, this car. You'll see the same car, same model. Your eyes will just be tuned to that, right? So these asuras, they were like so lusty that it was just twilight, but they were imagining the entire twilight to be a woman. And then we read all these verses where they're thinking of the breast of the woman and the hips, and then how she's decorated so nicely. And this actually, why these verses are there? Because this show the mentality of the demons. Those who are so lustful, anything they see, they're just thinking about that lust, right? And that's their kind of their inclination towards, right? And then they say like, oh, you're so pretty, girl, how you are actually tantalizing us, that you're here, but you're not actually giving us access to your beauty, right? In that way, they are actually saying. And yeah, in this way, the foolish asuras, they took this evening twilight to be the beautiful woman, right? So that's how we stopped last time, and then we'll continue. So this chapter will go a little fast because we'll be reading of creation of other personalities. And then next chapter, we'll discuss further what happened after Swayambhuva Manu. Right? And so the chapter will end towards the creation of Swayambhuva Manu, and then we'll read what happened after that. Okay. Any questions up to this point? Any comments? Anyone?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did Brahmaji not just stop after creating, after giving the effulgence or creating the devatas, or giving the daytime to the devatas from his effulgence? Like, why didn't he just stop there?
Like, see, it is Brahma's task to create everyone. Whatever 8.4 million species of life, that is his task. And, previously it actually mentioned that actually all these species are already defined by Krishna. Like even the Asuras, okay, this is a category. It's all amphibians, beasts, everyone is defined. What Brahma is doing, he's giving the body to each one. So this already, like, because this is the material world, so yes, there have to be devatas, there have to be asuras also. There are also, and why is Brahma creating this? Because there are living entities with the jivas, the living entity with desires to actually have that asuric mentality. So Brahma is doing what? Okay, that's your mentality, here's a body for you. That is Brahma's task. So it's not Brahma's fault in one way that he's creating all these demons and asuras, rakshasas. It is the fault is the mentality of the living entities. And at the end of the previous day of Brahma, they actually entered into Karandaksha Vishnu with the same mentality. And it's still there. So then they're coming out and they'll just take the body with that mentality, and then they will try to again fulfill their desire, etc., etc. So it's not Brahma at fault, but he has to create all this. That is his seva to Krishna, one way. So hence he's continuing.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay, so anything else? Okay, let's continue. Text number 38.
Chapter 20, text 38. Rahasya bhava gambhiram jigranthyatmanam atmana kantya sasarja bhagavan gandharvapsarasam ganan. Karuna Mataji.
With a laugh full of deep significance, the worshipful Brahma then evolved by his own loveliness, which seemed to enjoy itself by itself, the hosts of Gandharvas and Apsuras.
So now, so you see the creation, how it goes? There's like goodness, and then asuras. Then goodness, asuras. It's like that, right? So previously we read about these demons created and how they took shelter of twilight. Now is the good part, right? And now what is Brahma actually? Prahasya bhava gambiram, right? He's smiling with a deep purpose. Right. So why is he smiling? So here it actually said that because Brahma remembered the beauty, right? And the point where it says in this sloka, it says, enjoy itself by itself. What does that mean? So Brahma was meditating on his beauty, and who can actually appreciate someone's beauty? Who has the beauty? I mean, a person who is beautiful can appreciate others' beauty, right? So that is the point about like enjoy itself by itself, right? So beauty can be appreciated by a person who beholds beauty. Right? So hence, beauty, yeah. So hence it says also beauty smelled itself by itself. And then Brahma actually, by that beauty or by that loveliness, he actually created Ganan Gandharva Apsara. Ganan means host of Gandharvas and Apsaras. Gandharvas are those who actually are celestial musicians. Right? So we often hear that when you go to heavenly planets, all these Gandharvas are there, and they're singing all these songs. And then there is Apsaras. Apsaras are the dancing girls, like we hear Urvashi and all those Apsaras. So all those were created. Right? So Prabhupada talks of musicians in the upper planetary system. They are called Gandharvas, and the dancing girls are called Apsaras. Right. And Prabhupada makes a point when music and dancing are actually used in sense gratification, that is demoniac. But the same music and dancing, if it actually is used for Krishna, then that becomes kirtan, that is glorification, and that makes one's life completely successful. So it's, and we again make the point that bhakti, we are not changing the activity, but we are actually changing the intention and motivation behind the activity. Yeah, singing, dancing, everyone likes music. But why don't we hear music about Krishna, right? Why don't they hear the holy name? So, okay, next, 39.
Visasarja tanum tam vai jyotsnam kantimatim priyam ta eva chadadu pritya vishvavasu purogamaha.
Translation Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After that, Brahma gave up that shining and beloved form of moonlight. Vishwavasu and other Gandharvas gladly took possessions of it. Hare Krishna.
So now we talked of like darkness, and that was night, that was taken by Rakshasas and Yakshas. Then we talked about twilight, right? Twilight. And then after that, after that we are reading, and also we talked about the brightness, right? Daytime. And now this is actually described as a moonlight, right? Moonlight. So this beauty of Brahma is described as moonlight, and Brahma gave up the body, it appeared as moonlight, and then these Gandharvas, particularly Vishwavashu, is actually said to be the head of the Gandharvas. So he took possession. So Ratnarayaka, is there a reading list? They're asking on the group.
Oh, sorry, I put it in the chat, but I forgot to press send. Yes, so
Okay, that's the list. Okay, let's continue. Text number 40.
Shishtva bhuta pishachanscha bhagavan atmatandrina digvasaso muktakeshan vikshachamela yadrisho. Raj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. The glorious Brahma next evolved from his sloth, the ghost, and the finds. But he closed his eyes when he saw them stand naked with their hair scattered.
So it's interesting. This is Brahma's daytime, right? He just woke up. And sometimes, like in the morning, also, if you don't sleep well, what happens? Like you chant your japa, and then you're chanting japa, you're falling asleep. So sometimes in the morning also you're sleepy. And you see, this is Brahma himself. Now he's actually like, he just woke up. He's doing this creation. And then he's become lazy. And out of his yawning, right? He's yawning in the morning, like in morning time he's yawning. And from that yawning, it is the bhuta and pishashas. The ghosts and the hobgoblins, Prabhupada said, like how in Halloween we have this hobgoblins, right? They say. So these are created. And Prabhupada said these are true. They are not ghosts and all. It's not some imaginary personalities. They are created by Brahma. And what is their task? They give suffering to other living entities. Right? They actually trouble other living entities. So this is also created by Brahma. And when they appear naked, hair scattered, then Brahma actually closed his eyes. Right? Amilat Drisho, he actually closed his eyes. Okay, next 41.
Jagrehu vishishtam tam Jrim bhangnakyam tanu prabhu Nidram indriya vikledo Yaya bhuteshu drishyate Yedo chishtan dharshayanti Tam unmadam prachakshate.
320:41. The ghost and hobgoblins took possession of the body thrown off, yawning by Brahma, the creator of the living entities. This is also known as the sleep which causes drooling. The hobgoblins and ghosts attack men who are impure. Their attack is spoken of as insanity. Hare Krishna.
So we're reading that our Brahma yawn, and from the yawning we have this ghosts and hobgoblin. And then so every time Brahma is creating something, and then he's kind of like refreshing his mentality, like, okay, this body is created. Okay, no, okay, no, next. So he's giving up this body. And when this body was thrown, then it was actually taken up by these personalities. And also it is interesting that how in this shloka it says, Indriya Vikledaha. That means drooling. So that mentality where Brahma was sleeping during the day, I mean, just in the morning time, he's feeling sleepy or yawning, laziness. That is actually, why is this talked about Indriya Vikreda, that drooling while sleeping? That is because when here it says the ghost and hobbit took this body of Brahma, it is actually said they attack the impure, right? And particularly Prabhupada in the purport actually says that when sleep that causes drooling, that's a very unclean state. And that the ghosts actually, they take advantage of this unclean state and they haunt that body. So, yes, ghosts are real, and ghosts also, so what are ghosts? Ghosts are basically like they are jivas, but because they have done so many sinful activities, or they're like so attached to the body even after death, that they are not willing to accept another body. So they just hover over. Or other point is that if someone commits suicide, they say that also causes like a ghostly body. So they don't get a gross body. And that's why, next we'll read that how when they do Shraddha, right? So what are they doing? They are offering, normally like some offerings to the forefathers for the Pitra, so that if they are in case ghosts, they'll get a gross body. Right? So these ghosts, they still have the desires. They are living entities, have desire, but they do not have a gross body to fulfill the desire. So hence for ghosts is actually very, like a very difficult situation. Imagine like someone has desire to eat, but they don't have a body to eat. And hence what do? They find people where they can actually enter into. And then in that body, they try to fulfill their desire. And which bodies do they enter? Those which are in unclean state. And here hence is talk when sleep causes drooling, that's a very unclean state, and the ghosts take advantage and they actually enter into the body. So one point that we can say practically here also, that if we see sleep itself, one way sleep is considered what? Mode of ignorance. Right? Because once we sleep, our memory, everything is like, we cannot think, and we don't even know what's happening. So one way sleep is considered in a mode of ignorance. But, even in bhakti, the sleep itself can one be, like by default, it is an ignorance, but before we sleep, what was Prabhupada's recommendation? Before we sleep, what we should do? What is it?
Prayer, we can say, Kayana Vacha Mansendriya Buddhyatmana va Prakriti Sabhava, whatever I've done with body, mind, and
That's a good point. Yeah.
I offer it to you.
That's a good point. There are some devotees who actually like, just before they sleep, they write actually in their diary, okay, today I did this, Krishna, I did this for your seva. and Krishna, you please accept whatever that. And also they say like, oh, today I, so much time I was not thinking of you, I was not in your consciousness, and I wasted. So Krishna, please forgive me. Tomorrow I want to be more conscious about you. So that's a nice intention. Right? But what is Prabhupada's main point about before sleeping? He said, before sleeping, we read Krishna book. We read Krishna book. And by reading Krishna book, what is that? Though sleep is in the mode of ignorance, when we read Krishna book, or like a spiritual literature, particularly, like imagine reading pastimes of Krishna, then our sleep also is like a seva to Krishna, because our consciousness is so pure, and we're sleeping in that. It's just like, okay, body is getting rest. And then we wake up, we are in the good consciousness to chant japa, because we have actually slept in a good consciousness. So reading Krishna book, Prabhupada actually said, right? Morning, we have a whole morning program and night program. Read Krishna book. Prabhupada in some sections says, nighttime, drink a glass of hot milk, read Krishna book, sleep. So that's the mood. So we can actually like Mataji also mentioned the prayer. So like before sleeping also we can say, Krishna, now I'm going to take rest, but just so that my body is refreshed, so that I can get up and serve you nicely, right? My body is a machine. The machine needs to recharge. So I'm just doing this as a seva, so I can recharge, so that I can again serve you. So just having that mentality is actually will save us from, going into gross ignorance, which is actually explained here. Okay. This is good. Any other points? Okay. Let's continue. So next, text 42.
Ujvasvantam manyamana atmanam bhagavan ajaha sadhyan ganan pitriganan parokshena srijat prabhu. Recognizing himself to be full of desire and energy, the worshipful Brahma, the creator of the living entities, evolved from his own invisible form, from his navel, the hosts of Satyas and Pitas.
So Urjavantam. So after, see how it's always up and down. So previous was what? He was feeling sleepy and yawning, and then you had all these. And after that he said, no, I am actually full of energy. This is just starting of the day, right? This is just 5:15 in the morning. I have like a whole day in front of me. So again, he just meditated. No, I have so much energy. And then just recognizing himself full of energy and desire, then he actually created. Ganan means host of sadhyas and pitas, right? So sadhya from his strength and pitas from his invisibility. So like from his invisibility, from his own invisible form, the pitas were created. So his meditation of desire, strength was the sadhyas, and meditation of in the invisible form, pitas are created. So pitas are basically those forms that, we talk of departed souls. Let's come in the next verse. I'll talk more about it. But yeah. Okay, let's continue. 43.
Ta atma sargam tam kayam pitara patipedire sadhyebhyascha pitribhyascha kavayo yadvitanvate.
Hare Krishna. The Pitas themselves took possession of the invisible body, the source of their existence. It is through the medium of this invisible body that those well versed in the rituals offer oblations to the Satyas and Pitas in the form of their departed ancestors on the occasion of Shraddha. Hare Krishna.
Right. So here, so the invisible body was accepted. So it's like a whole, again, we see the same. Body is created, and Brahma says, okay, give up the body. So he gave up the invisible body. And these sadhyas and pitas, they actually accepted the body. Now it's also interesting that here it says the sadhyas and pitas, they accept oblations through the medium of invisible body. I'm sure everyone here has heard of Shraddha Paksha, right? Those 15 days, and then, it's like in families we talk, okay, so this 15 days, they restrict from having any celebrations. It's like, okay, my forefather is this day of this Shraddha Paksha, and then they make offerings and so on, right? So it said that that invisible body, through the medium of the invisible body, and here the shloka says, Kavaya yat vitanvate. So those who are well versed in the rituals, when they offer these oblations, then through the medium of invisible body, these pitas or the forefathers, they actually accept these offerings. And the Prabhupada talks about in purport how Shraddha is a yearly occasion of 15 days, ritualistic. Prabhupada says ritualistic religionists, they follow this, right? And also he talks about like why this is done. Already mentioned that, in case the person is too sinful, does not have a gross body, at least he'll get a gross body. But even after getting a gross body, if they're again engaging in similar activities, then what's the point? That's a proper, like once you get a gross body, we should see, oh, this is an opportunity for me to again correct my mistakes, not that we continue with the same mistakes. Right? Okay. Then further Prabhupada actually talks about, like, especially in Gaya. Who do we know went to Gaya for the Shraddha ceremony?
Sri Chaitanya.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? We see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he went to Gaya for the Shraddha ceremony, right? And there he met whom? His spiritual master Ishwar Puri, right? So Prabhupada is actually making the point that for devotees as such, there is actually no need to do Shraddha. No need to do Shraddha. In the sense that he gives the example of Sri Prahlad Maharaj. And how Prahlad Maharaj in Bhagavatam, it actually says the point what? When Prahlad actually, when the Lord said, okay, Prahlad, please ask for a benediction. What did Prahlad say? Please don't ask me to ask for a benediction. Why? I am born in the family of demons and you're tempting me. And because I'm born in the family of demons, I may ask something which is not favorable. And I'm not a merchant to ask to actually have this exchange that, yes, I'm serving you. I need a benediction now. It's not a business. I'm not a manik. Manik is a merchant, right? That's what Prahlad says. But then Narasimha says, no, please ask something, right? He insists. Then Prahlad says, okay, if you're insisting, then the only thing I ask is that you actually give liberation to my father. Right? And then what did Lord Narasimha say? Because you're such an exalted devotee, 21 generations above, 21 generations below are already liberated. Prabhupada in this purport, he says, up to the 14th father, 14th father, they're all automatically liberated. Now, what does this mean? They're automatically liberated. What does it mean? Like, because they all have their own desires, right? So what does it mean that they are liberated? They get moksha?
They get the human body.
Okay, they get a human body. Yeah. I mean, that's a part of just the Shraddha ceremony. But what about the devotee? Now we are talking of devotee, right?
Devotee.
Because Prabhupada, so one aspect is the religion, ritualistic, the Vedic karma kanda follows. They are very particular. Shraddha ceremony, you have to do all this. Yes, for them they get a gross body, human form body to actually continue. But those who are devotees, and it says they get liberation. So the point here Prabhupada explains is they get an opportunity to actually do activity in such a way that they get liberated. But they still have a choice to actually say, okay, the opportunity is there, but I don't want to take it. I still want to continue my sense. Then they will still continue. But the opportunity is given. It's just like someone is given, okay, because your son is so-and-so, you will get admission into so-and-so university. Right? Now, if you make use of the university, then that's to your credit. You can attain liberation. But if you enter the university and still play around, then it is your loss. Right? So all of them get an opportunity to get liberated. And Prabhupada concludes this purport and says, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author says, a person who is fully conversant with Krishna consciousness does not perform any rituals because he knows that simply by serving Krishna in full consciousness, all rituals are perfectly performed. Which is shloka? Famous shloka? Knows? Last sentence. Shraddha Shabde, right? You know this shloka? Shraddha Shabde, Vishwasa Kole, Sudhridaya Nishay, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita. What is the real definition of Shraddha or faith? Faith means Shraddha Shabde, Vishwasa Kole. You have that firm conviction that just by engaging in Krishna consciousness, all activities, Sarva Karma Krita hoy, all activities are that. I don't have to go like, okay, it's Ganesh Puja, this Puja, this ritual, that ritual. Just by serving Krishna, everything is taken care of. Now, one may say, like, practically for us as, sadhakas, should we do Shraddha or not? Like, also like if forefathers pass away, like devotees, they go to Gaya. Like even now, like, Jayaprada Maharaj has like kind of established like a system. You go to Gaya, there are some devotees who will help you do the Shraddha ceremony and so on. So should we do it or not? Well, one way, like, there are certain rituals that we do. We have faith. Our faith is in Krishna. Our faith is always in Krishna. Yes, Krishna will take care. But we do certain things just to actually set an example for others. And also because we may not be completely pure devotees, we actually do that, but always to enhance our faith in Krishna. Right? So that activity itself is actually we are doing in the mood, Krishna, I'm doing this for your pleasure. And when devotees, they do Shraddha, what they do? They give the ancestors Vishnu Prasad. That is a speciality. And even in temple, sometimes we do Shraddha for someone. Then our main thing is get the offering, or rather let them have the prasadam. Because once they get prasadam, whatever soul is, he'll get, not only get liberation, but he'll get that opportunity of bhakti. So that's okay. Yeah. Okay. And Prabhupada says, like, a devotee does not need to perform such ceremonies because he's always pleasing the Supreme Lord. Everything he does is Samsiddhir Haritoshan, right? So it's not as such necessary, but one may do it as setting an example and so on. Okay. So the reference for the shloka I quoted is Madhya 22:62. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudhridaya Nishchay. That firm conviction, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Madhya 22:62. Okay. Next sloka is 44.
Well, can I ask you a quick question about this Shraddha ceremony? So the ancestors, I'm kind of confused because like when someone passes away, they go to another, like so many bodies, right? Like, so what does it mean that the ancestors accept the offering? Because they're now in like, who knows, maybe they're a tree or they're a bug or, like they're another life. So what does it mean that, and also there's a planet where the ancestors live. So what does that mean?
Yeah, Pitraloka. So see, there are two categories we have to discuss. One is just those who are following the Vedic rituals, right? They're not devotees as such. For them, like the main focus there is if the fathers don't get a gross body, then you're doing it so that they can get a gross body and they can continue. Right? So that's the point. But for devotees, it is different. Yeah, they may be wherever they may be a different body. Let's say a tree body. But after the tree body, the next body, they may get an opportunity where they can actually get liberated. They may come in the association of pious people or come in the association of devotees. So all that benediction is given because there is a devotee in the child. So there are two different. So you see for karmakandis or Vedic ritualistics and one for devotees, so two categories, right? And in our Vedic version, when you say, yeah, they are in tree body. So what? I mean, that's just like one chapter of their life. Next life, then they'll get an opportunity to do so and so.
So when it says that they accept the offering, it means like how do we understand that? Like, maybe those who don't have gross bodies,
Yeah, exactly. So that's why what does it say? They accept the invisible body, and that's the medium through which the offerings that are made are actually given to these personalities. So they can actually accept the gross body.
Also, I heard that in Pitraloka there are some I don't know what to call them, but those personalities accept the offerings by the family members and give it to the soul wherever he is in his progression, right? So Pitraloka, it's not these jivas, there, but it's some personalities who live in Pitraloka. Right?
Pitas, that's what we are reading.
Pitas.
Pita. They reside in Pitraloka. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhu, we feed the pindas to cows or birds. So there is a saying, I don't know how far it is true. When the priests come and do the rituals, after the ceremony is done, we have to take the pindas. Either you put it in the floating water, sacred water with some mantras, or we feed them to cows or birds. That's what they usually say.
After the offering is done, right?
After, yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So when this offering is done, normally to ancestors, then it's done. But after, what do you do with it? You don't accept it as prasadam because it's actually given to people who we don't know what is their condition. So after that, they either give the cows or just put it near a tree, in the back or something like that.
Water.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So next verse, 44.
Siddhan vidyadharamश्चैव tirodhanena sosrijat tebhyo dadat tam atmanam antardhanakyam adbhutam.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Then Lord Brahma, by his ability to be hidden from vision, created the Siddhas, Vidyadharas, and gave them wonderful form of his own, known as the Antarardhana. Antaradhana. Hare Krishna.
Antardhana itself means one way antardhana, to actually disappear. So after Brahma created these pitas, then he actually kind of disappeared from their vision. Right? And by his ability to remain hidden from their vision, Brahma actually gave birth to the Siddhas and Vidyadhara. So antardhana means that living entities can be perceived to be present, but they are not seen in vision. 45.
Sakinaran kim purushan pratyatmena srijat prabhuhu manayan atmanatmanam atma bhasam vilokayan.
One day, Brahma, the creator of the living entities, beheld his own reflection in the water, and admiring himself, he evolved Kimpurusas as well as Kinnaras out of that reflection.
So Brahma saw his own reflection, thinking like, wow, I'm so beautiful. And then from that, actually, Kinnaras and Kimpurushas. And we'll hear this in the 5th canto where we read the prayers of the Kinnaras and the Kimpurushas. And they are actually in one of the 9 dvipas, on Bhumandala. So, yeah. So it's interesting. I was thinking of this point, like, see, Brahma, his potency. Like, we look at the mirrors and we're like, oh, I'm growing old. Or we say like, okay, or if you're too, oh, I'm so handsome or I'm so beautiful. And only our ego is nourished. But Brahma, he looks at reflection, admires, and immediately this personality is created. Imagine Brahma's power. He has a potency that, all these personalities are created. Kinnaras and Kimpurushas. 46.
Prabhuji, the Hanumanji is still living at Kimpurusha.
Kimpurusha Loka, yeah. So that's one of the dvipas in the 9.
Etu taj jagru rupam tyaktam yat parameshtina mituni bhuya gayantas tam evo shassi karma bihi.
Krishna translation. The Kimpurushas and Kinnaras took possession of the shadowy form left by Brahma. That is why they and their spouses sing his praises by recounting his exploits at every daybreak.
So, they took possession of. So this is like we are following a sequence. Like they created, and then Brahma gives up his body. So now it was like previous verse we read, like kind of disappeared. So that shadowy form, though it was not perceived, that form which was kind of hidden or shadowy, that was taken by these personalities. And then it says Mithuni Bhuya. So they actually every day at the morning time they come with their wives and they glorify Brahma for his activity. That, oh, Brahma, he just saw his beauty and we are created. And Brahma is so great that way. Right? So, and then Prabhupada here in the purport, he's focused on Brahma Murta. And he says this time, because here in the verse it says, Ushasi, at daybreak, they glorify the Lord. And then Prabhupada actually using a practical point in sadhana. And he says that in the morning time means time for spiritual activities. Brahma Muhurta, 1.5 hours before sunrise, and spiritual activities performed early in the morning have greater effect than done any other part of the day. Right? So that because Brahma Muhurta is so auspicious, any activity we do, spiritual activity, the benefit is actually magnified. Right? So hence Prabhupada's recommendation is Mangala Aarti, right? That's our main time of the day. We get up, offer Mangala Aarti, we chant our rounds, all during Brahma Muhurta time. And also during that time, so not only is the mode, the influence of the mode very favorable for spiritual life, because it's a mode of goodness, very nice. So our spirituality is also more focused. Not only that, but even like, at the time, the mode of passion is kind of very low, so we don't have like, a mind is not like, I have to do this. That's all later on. Later on, mode of passion sets in. Morning is a good time, just like focus on spiritual life, hence, and we see like, I mean, you compare the life of a devotee and, a regular karmi, like they get up, whatever, 7:30, get up, take a quick shower, or maybe not take a shower and just come to work. Grab something from breakfast, come to work. But imagine for a devotee also kind of reaches at the same time. But before reaching, like both are coming, but before reaching, a devotee has already had like 3 or 4 hours of sadhana, where he's really taken time to worship Krishna. Imagine, like, it's like everyone is just living in this world, but for a devotee, before coming itself, like 3, 4 hours, is chant his rounds, then attend Bhagavatam class, attend the Mangala Arti, and then so on. Okay. So, Brahma Muhurta, importance of Brahma Muhurta, Prabhupada also. 47.
Dehena vai bhogavata shayano bahuchintaya sarge nupachite krodhat utsasarjaha tat vapuhu.
Once Brahma lay down with his body stretched at full length, he was very concerned that the work of creation had not preceded a pause, and in sullen mood, he gave up that body too.
So Brahma was like, he just stretched and said like, oh, it's not working out. I need to create. It's not working out. And he stretched his body in this way, like in one way in disappointment. And then when he stretched, out of the stretched body, snakes came out. And then here it talks about, yeah. And next one will describe that all those stretched parts actually became snakes. And then he became Krodha. He became angry. And he said like, I'm doing all this, but it's not working out. It's not working out. And then he gave up that body. So 48.
Yehiyanta mutu kesha ahayaste gajagire sarpak prasarpata krura naga bogor gandharaha. Arundhati Mataji.
Oh dear Vidura, the hair that dropped from that body transformed into snakes, and even while the body crawled along with its hands and feet contracted, there sprang from it ferocious serpents and nagas with their hoods expanded.
So when he stretched his body out of that tension, his hair started falling off. So because he's disappointed with his whole creation. And the hairs fell, then they actually became snakes. And the stretched body, then from the stretch of the body, then all these cobras, envious cobras, Uru Bhoga, with big hoods, they actually appear. And because in the previous verse it says angry, Krodha, hence it says that because out of anger this were created, hence the snakes and all these, living entities are considered that they are very cruel or envious. Prabhupada makes this point. There's actually a shloka which says like how by nature the snakes are envious. Even like, we have not done anything wrong for them, they will come and they'll bite. Their envious mentality. Oh, this person is there. Attack, right? Because of their cruel nature. Okay, 49. So Arundhati, you can read. Go ahead.
Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, in 46, the translation, that is why they and their spouses sing his praises by recounting his exploits at every day break. What is that mean, Prabhu?
Every day of this, not day of Brahma, day for these personalities, the Kinnaras and Kimpurishas, because they are on Bhumandala.
Okay.
They're also, so for them, every night and day, every day morning, they wake up, and because they have been created by Brahma, by his beauty, they glorify Brahma. So in the morning, they wake up and they say, offer prayers to Brahma. That's the point.
Okay.
What was your question? Like, what was
his exploits?
The activities of Brahma are actually Exploits is basically referring to the activities of Brahma, not.
It's a negative word, right? Exploitation is a negative word, right? I'm just trying to understand the relation.
Yeah, we use exploit in the negative, like exploiting, but exploits are also referred to just as activity.
Okay. Okay.
That's what, when I read, that was a conception. When you say exploit, it's just the activities of Brahma.
Activities. The day starts. Okay. Thank you.
For them, in the morning of the day, they offer their prayers. Oh, Brahma has done this. These are his activities.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. And one more question, Prabhuji. Like, is Kimpurusha is a land or is a living entity? My understanding is a living entity.
So
But
Kimpurusha Loka is there.
oh, okay.
Kimpurusha actually live.
Okay. Thank you.
So this fifth canto, they actually all the Hanuman, Mataji mentioned about Hanuman, they are actually referred to as a Kimpurushas.
Okay.
They actually offer prayers to Lord Ramchandra in that Dvipa.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I ask you one question? Quick
So,
question.
one minute, Mataji. So, Vamshi Govind Prabhu, so if you see in the word to word also, it is karma bhi, right?
Okay.
Exploits Prabhupada translates, but karma bhi means activities.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Go ahead, Arun.
Yeah, Prabhuji, whenever Brahmaji is giving up his body, whatever he created, are they going to exist or
Yeah.
again he needs to restart?
He's just creating. So all of them are there. But it's just like, as we are saying, giving up his body, his mentality he's changing. Like basically he's just creating. Okay.
It's not a annihilation.
No.
Because whenever Brahma's night and
No. So as we mentioned, Brahma's day, like lifetime is 100 years. And this all in the morning. Just at he wakes up and then he, worships Krishna to give him knowledge, gets the knowledge and says, okay, great.
So he's just changing his bodies.
Changing his mental state.
Mental state. Okay.
Like he's creating something and say, okay, I need to create this. So he's changing his mentality, his subtle consciousness.
Subtle consciousness.
Even we do that, right? Like, like we may get angry. And then after something like, no, why am I getting angry? This is not right. It's actually my fault. I'm simply getting angry. And then we change, okay, now I'm going to change my mental state. Right? So that's what Brahma is doing. He's creating negative. And we also do that, right? By chance, we do something, activity which is not favorable to bhakti. Immediately what happens? It's always raga and dvesha. Right? Keep switching. We keep switching. Right? That's what is materialistic life. We do something bad and immediately, no, Krishna, I have to come back. Right? To come back. And we change our mentality. Then we are going all okay in my sadhana and everything. And all of a sudden, some pulling and then we fall down. So it's always like this. So even Brahma. So entire material world is a world of duality. So it's good, bad, and that's what we are seeing in Brahma. When good personalities are created, then bad, negative personalities are created. So,
thank you.
Okay. 48, 49, 49.
49. Sa atmanam manyamanaha krita krityam ivatmaguhu tadamanun sasarjante manasa loka bhavanan.
Krishna. One day Brahma, the self-born, the first living creature, felt as if the object of his life had been accomplished. At the time he evolved from his mind, the Manus, who promote the welfare activities of the universe. Next.
So it's interesting, this sloka, like actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained, that how come at this point Brahma felt that, oh, my life has been accomplished. Till this, he was just disappointed in the last verse, right? So actually it says in this shloka, if you see the word says ante, sasarje ante. So at the end, Manus were created. So we know from the previous chapter, who was created before the Manus? Before Swayambhuva, Manu and Shatarupa. Who was created?
4 Kumaras.
Yeah, 4 Kumaras. And then also there were these 10 sons of Brahma, Prajapatis, right? So actually the order is next shloka I will talk of Prajapati. So Prajapatis were created and then Brahma felt that, okay, yes, I have done something good. And then when he was thinking that, yes, I have accomplished, then Swayambhuva, Manu and Shatarupa were actually created. So hence this ante refers to at the end. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes the point that if you really want to see the sequence, so first creation of animals took place, then plants and trees, then snakes, then cows and buffaloes, then yakshas, rakshasas, then asuras, then kinnaras, kimpurushas, kumaras, the sages, and then the manus. And so that's kind of the order of the creation. But he makes a point that here, the verses as such are not in chronological order. Okay. Text 50.
Tebhyaso srijat swiyam puram purusham atmavan tan drishtvaye pura shishta prashasham suprajapatim.
Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The self-possessed creator gave them his own human form. On seeing the Manus, those who had been created earlier, the demigods, the Gandharvas, and so on, applauded Brahma, the Lord of the universe. Hare Krishna.
So the best of Brahma's creation is Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. It says Manus, but that means like one Manu at that time, and later on during the day, other 13 Manus, right? So just one Manu at that time, right? On seeing the Manus, but it's actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says just one Manu at that time later. And then all the other personalities who were previously created, like here it says Gandharvas, demigods, etc. They said, oh, Brahma, good job. You created very nicely. You created, because Swayambhuva Manu is actually the father of mankind, and from him, all the other human beings are going to be created. Right? And he gave him the human form of body. Right? 51.
Aho etat jagat shashta sukritam batate kritam pratishtita kriya yasmin sakam anam adama e. Raj Prabhu.
So Hare Krishna. So we are on 50, right?
51.
51.
No, 50, right?
They prayed,
Says,
O creator of the universe, we are glad. What you have produced is well done. Since ritualistic acts have now been established soundly in this human form, we shall all share the sacrificial oblations.
Right. So basically here, so these personalities who are praying here, the Gandharvas and other previously created, they are actually telling Brahma, oh creator of the universe, we are very happy that you have created this Swayambhuva Manu, because as soon as the humans are created, then Pratishta Kriya, along with the human form of life, what was established? Ritualistic performances. Right? So as soon, because human form of life is very unique in the sense that it is in the human form of life that one can actually really achieve the purpose why we are here in this material world. That's a reform, a rebellious attitude, right? It's in the human form of life. So hence Krishna actually, as soon as the humans are created, immediately at that time, these sacrifices are created. Human beings means sacrifice, performing sacrifice, right? Tapo divyam putraka yena shuddheta sattva. Human beings means performing austerity and sacrifice. So Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes how Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, it actually says, in the beginning of creation, along with the human beings, or that says demigod, then he sent forth sacrifices. Right? Which is a sloka? You know that? 3rd chapter. So 3.10 actually says, Saha yagya prajashishta puro vacha prajapati anena prasavas prava visyadhyam esha va istakamaduk. Now basically that verse says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord created all creatures and sent generations of men and demigods, right? Prajapati, men and demigods. And he said, be happy by performing the sacrifice, because by the sacrifice, you can live happily in this world and also perfect your life and attain liberation, right? All that can be done. You have come to enjoy, but you can enjoy in this world in such a way that by performing the sacrifices, not only you'll enjoy, fulfill your desires, but you'll also be promoted to the higher spiritual position. So Prabhupada talks about this, like sacrificial is actually gradual elevation to the proper position of self-realization. Right. And finally, Prabhupada says the purpose of sacrificial rituals is to revive gradually the spiritual realization of living entities. And these sacrificial rituals, however, are intended to please the Supreme Lord. Because Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasa, right? Who is the Bhokta of all Yagya? Krishna. Right. So gradually all these sacrifices, yes, we are doing it for some material profit, but because we are doing a sacrifice, gradually meant us to like, okay, I'm doing this only for the pleasure of Krishna. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. And that will bring us to our original position of service to Krishna. 52. So we have just 2 more verses, then we'll take a pause.
Text 52. Tapasa vidyaya yukto yogena susamadhina rishin rishikesha sasarja bhimata prajaha.
320:52. Having equipped himself with austere penance, adoration, mental concentration, and absorption in devotion, accomplished by dispassion, and having controlled his senses, Brahma, the self-born living creature, evolved great sages as his beloved son. Hare Krishna.
So now we read about 10 sons Brahma creates, and they are all actually, so here it says tapasa. Tapasa means penance. Vidyaya. Vidyaya means worship. Yukta. Yukta means engaged. So Brahma actually, he said, okay, what is my quality, the real quality? Okay, there's quality of penance, there's quality of worship, then susamidhina, right? So yogena susamidhina. So yogena is concentration of the mind, and then susamidhina is meditation, right? Meditation. Then because of all these and etc. So there are other qualities also. And each sage, each of these 10 personalities, they actually are predominantly having one of these. Tapasa, Vidya, yoga, etc. So that way the 10 sons are actually created. So Sarjaja Abhimataha Prajaha. He created his own beloved sons. And these are sages and set example for spiritual realization. So there's all these 10 sages, their purpose is to perform spiritual activities and set the example for others that they can actually follow these sages. Right. So Prabhupada and purpose says all these ritualistic performances are actually meant for material economic development to keep the body in good condition for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. So what is Prabhupada's point here? Yes, all these sacrifices are there, but all these sacrifices by itself is not going to lead to perfection. One finally needs to have vidya, worship of the Lord. It is only by the worship of the Lord then everything else can be perfect. Otherwise, if you do tapasa without that worship of the Lord, or you do mental concentration without worship of the Lord, then what is the use, right? It will not lead you to anywhere. Right? So actual purpose is to actually concentrate our mind on the super soul, Paramatma, and hence the Vidyaya is actually so important. And who is one of these 10 saints who is actually representing Bhakti? Narad Muni, right? Narad Muni is one of the 10 saints, and he actually represents that aspect of Bhakti to actually show that yes, you have all these qualities are there, but without Bhakti, everything else is fruitless. Last sloka, 53.
Text 53. Tebyaschai kaikasha swasya dehasyam sham adat ajaha yatad samadhiyo vriddhi tapo vidya vikraktimat. To each one of these sons, the unborn creator of the universe gave a part of his own body, which was characterized by deep meditation, mental concentration, supernatural power, austerity, adoration, and renunciation.
Right. So basically, this you already mentioned this point that all those 10 sons, he's giving. He has to give a part of his body. So he gave to one, he gave samadhi, deep meditation. To one, he gave yoga, like concentration on mind, riddhi, supernatural power, tapaha, austerity, vidya, knowledge, virakti, renunciation. So he gave all these sons these qualities. Prabhupada and purport focuses on this virakti and tapasya. Right? So what he talks about importance of virakti. Virakti means what? Like vairagya, right? Detachment. Right? So Prabhupada is making the point that Bhagavad Gita says that if one does not have virakti, he cannot practice devotional service. Which is a shloka? Second chapter, Krishna actually makes the point. What are the two obstacles for spiritual life? Even when he starts talking about bhakti or buddhi yoga, he says there are two obstacles for taking up this. What is it?
Bhoga Aishwarya.
Bhoga Aishwarya. Bhoga Aishwarya prasaktana. Taha parata chesasam. Bhoga is to actually enjoy our senses, and Aishwarya is to get material opulences. Right? So these bhoga and Aishwarya are obstacles for us to take up bhakti. And Krishna makes a point in that verse that those are just engaged. Their entire life is, okay, how can I enjoy my senses? How can I get more? Right? If that is the focus, they cannot take up devotional service with determination. Right? So that is the main point Prabhupada focuses. So he talks of virakti. And second, he talks of tapasya. What is the tapasya for devotees? What is our austerity we perform?
The four regulative principles.
Four regulative principles and
Chanting.
and
Chanting 16. Harinam.
yeah, okay, chanting 16 wrong. So austerity, one way, like we say chanting 16 wrong, not so much as austerity, but this is actually our direct service to Krishna, right? We say this is our direct connection with Krishna. Austerity in the sense, like we say, okay, like four regulative principles, right?
Eating Krishna prasadam.
Yeah,
only.
okay. Eating only food that's been offered to Krishna, right? So that, but also another austerity we say, rising early in the morning.
Early in the morning, I was just going to say that is my biggest charity.
Like for years and years, we had the struggle, austerity of waking up early, because early we just discussed the importance of Brahma Muhurta. So all these are austerities. So Prabhupada focuses virakti, vairagya, right, and tapasya. These two are actually important. To absorb mind in the supreme in Krishna consciousness is the process. Okay, yeah. So that's how this chapter ends. So we talked about, as I mentioned, the sequence is what? We talked about all those personalities created, and then Swayambhu Manu was mentioned, and then the 10 sons. But actually, it is the 10 sons, and then at the last, Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, right? And in the previous chapters, we read that how after Brahma created Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, and he said, create progeny. And then there were who? How many children? 5 children, right? And who are these 5 children? This everyone should know, because this is like next few cantos, next 2 chapters, 2 cantos is just on these 5 personalities. Who are the 5 children of Swayambhu Manu?
Privarta,
Priyavarta.
Uttanapad.
Uttanapad. Like so, Uttanapad is the father of Dhruva, Priyavarta, and then 3 daughters. 2 sons.
Devuti, Prasuti, and Akuti.
So these 5 are the children. So after Swayambhu Manu was created, then Brahma said, okay, create progeny. And then he said, like, oh, earth is fallen down. So that entire episode of Varahadev was mentioned. But now it's like, okay, earth is placed back, and now five children are there. Now, what is the next sequence of Bhagavatam? Let's discuss these 5 children. Right? So that's our next chapter. Okay. So we start our next chapter, conversation between Swayambhu Manu and Kardama. Kardama is one of the 10 sons, and that Swayambhu Manu is also like he came after the 10 sons, but he's actually talking to Kardama, these 10 sons. Okay, so any comments, questions for this previous chapter?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when you talk about the 10 Prajapatis or the 10 sons of Brahma, and you said they were created to set an example. Is there any literature, anything that specifies how each of them sets an example? Or
I mean, in Bhagavatam itself, we'll see. Right now, we'll read about
okay.
Next chapter is all about Kardama. So Kardama Muni is also one of the 10 sons, and how he actually engages in his spiritual life, how he performs meditation on Krishna, and how Krishna actually comes and gives him darshan. That's basically the next chapter. And then later on, we'll read about Daksha, That's also Daksha Prajapati. Right? So in Bhagavatam itself, we'll be reading throughout. It's not like sequentially mentioned that, okay, first son this, second son this, but throughout Bhagavatam itself, we'll read. And then, the Puranas are all filled with stories about these personalities. Daksha comes again and again, and then other sons are mentioned, right?
So following the footsteps, like would it also specify like what are the things that one should follow? Based, like when you say Daksha, right? The only thing that comes to my mind is how he insulted Lord Shiva, and that comes to mind. It's more prominent. So, like, I would never have thought that we should be following the footsteps of Daksha. So, would that all be kind of emphasized or?
So the point with Daksha is also, yes, see, actually, he was the best of all the sons, actually.
Oh.
And that's why he was actually selected as the main of the Prajapatis. Like that's how the fourth canto starts. And that's why in the assembly, when Daksha enters, he's actually expecting, I am the best of all. I was actually, of all the 10 sons Brahma created, I am selected as the main Prajapati. And hence because of that, he expects respect. Right? And then everyone in the assembly starts. Imagine, everyone, all the demigods, everyone is there. And everyone stands up to give respect to Daksha. That means previously he did the the creation task so expertly that he's actually given that position. So he did that. So that part we follow. But then the lesson is that if you're, whenever there's position, and then
Ego.
if you're proud, ego, or if you become proud, that leads to a fall down. And we see exactly that. So even from these great personalities, we learn what they do, but we also learn that how not to repeat the mistakes that they do. So actually Bhagavatam throughout is actually filled with mistakes, isn't it? Like Parikshit Maharaj. We read so many glories and one mistake. And then whole Bhagavatam spoken. Right? Again and again, we read the mistakes of these great personalities. Right? Why? So that we can learn from these mistakes. So it's not only we are learning the positive, but we are also learning what negative happened and how we can actually save ourselves from the negative. So in both cases, we are actually following.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, his name Daksha is there. I mean, he is expert, but he has like false ego, so that's why he's like down.
He becomes proud, right?
Yeah.
Other sons like who all is that? Marichi, like don't we hear stories of Marichi? Marichi, and then Atri stories also there. That's also there in Bhagavata. Pulatsya, Pulaha, Kritu, Vashishta, again and again we hear. Ramayana we hear about Vashishta, right? Daksha, Brigu stories we hear, right? How he went and that also is there in 10th canto, how he went to find out who is the supreme. So all these sons are actually throughout Bhagavatam we'll read. And Narad Muni certainly. He's there in every canto of the Srimad Bhagavata. Whenever he always appears at the right place at the right time. So that's Narada. So all the 10.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
So when we say Prajapati, so I may be absolutely wrong here, but is Bhishma Pitama and Janak Maharaj also Prajapatis, or are they categorized as something else?
See, Prajapati as such here, when we say, okay, these are 10 main Prajapatis, Prajapati means what? They are the head of the Praja, right? The leader of the Praja. So one way, Prajapati, these are the main, but also other personalities, like you mentioned, Janaka, Bhishma, they can be referred as Prajapati because they are serving as the Pati, the leader of the Praja, right? So like even the title Bhagwan. Bhagwan means the supreme personality of God. But also Bhagwan is actually used to refer to other personalities. Like Narada is called Bhagwan because they are actually representing or they are empowered by Bhagwan to actually do certain things. That way, even Prajapati could be used specifically to them, but also as a general title.
So the original Prajapati, so there can be different categories of Prajapatis in different yugas, or
I mean,
so
like,
is it like they are kind of going from one? So the original 10 Prajapatis, they kind of become in the next life, they become different. Like, does it continue down the line, or?
I mean,
Yes.
it could be every time there could be different Prajapatis.
Oh, okay.
And also, as I said,
So,
Prajapati is also like a general title. It could be used like Bhishma could be said. Actually, Brahma himself is called Prajapati. Right?
oh,
Brahma is also referred to as Prajapati. So a leader of the Praja is a Prajapati. But these are the main prominent. You could say minister. Now, there are some ministers who have like a special position. They may be right under the president or prime minister. And then there are other ministers, right? So that way.
okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. And sorry, it's a little bit confusing, so just
Sure.
clarification question.
Yeah,
Hare
sure.
Krishna.
Any other points? Any comments from the previous chapter? Okay. Anything? Okay, let's start. We'll do at least first 5 shlokas, then we can take a break. Okay. So, chapter 21, conversation between Manu and Kardama. So, what do you think will happen next in Bhagavatam? If we are following the flow of Bhagavatam, what is going to happen next? I mean, by now you should know.
Kardamuni and
No, but what happens to the next few shlokas? What would they be?
oh, the shlokas.
Glorification, Prabhu.
Vidura's question.
Vidura's questions.
Yes.
You see, again and again, as soon as there's a little bit, like it seems like, oh, my topic is ending, Vidura's questions, right? We have to read Vidura's questions. He's so eager that now he has to ask. Okay, you came to Swayambhu Manu, 10 said, okay, no, continue. I'm so eager to hear that he has to ask questions, right? He's so, imagine that, that like, okay, speaker and audience. And the speaker is just like saying a sentence and coming, it appears that it may be the end, and the audience is, Prabhu, question. Like that's Vidura's mood. Immediately, question. Okay, question. Next. Don't stop, right? So now we'll start off with Vidura's questions. Okay. So text 1.
Text 1. Vidura uvacha swayam bhuvasya cha manor vamsha parama samataha katyatam bhagavan yatra maitune naidhire prajaha. Shirati Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Vidura said, the line of Swayambhu Manu was most esteemed. O worshipable sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race, whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse.
So what is Vidura's question? Swayambhuvasya cha Manu, right? So this Swayambhuva Manu, right? That's the main thing. The whole chapter was themed to end with Swayambhuva Manu. So this Swayambhuvasya cha Manor, Vamsa Parama Samata. So this word is actually really important. So his Vamsa, the Vamsa or the lineage of Swayambhuva Manu is Parama Samataha. What does that mean? He's actually the most esteemed dynasty. Why is Swayambhuva's Manu dynasty considered the most esteemed? Like, we have the hint of Bhagavatam what's happening next, right? So why is Swayambhuva's Manu's dynasty considered the most esteemed? Why is Vidura so inquisitive? Because he says, Kathayatam, please tell me more, O Bhagavan. So when he says Bhagavan here, is calling Maitreya Rishi. Oh, worshipful sage, Bhagavan, right? So this most esteemed dynasty, please Kathayatam, please describe. Maithunena edhare prajaha. Where actually they created progeny through Maithunena, through sexual intercourse.
Because Dhruva Maharaj is in this dynasty.
Okay, that's one, Dhruva Maharaj. Who else?
Lord Kapila.
Oh, Kapila Dev. Actually, if you see this dynasty, and we'll be reading the next, this canto, next canto, next canto. So 3, 4, 5. We'll say Kapil Dev himself. Who is Kapila Dev? Supreme personality of God is appearing in the dynasty. Then who else? Dhruva, right? Certainly, such a great devotee is appearing. Then again, Prithu Maharaj. Again, who's an incarnation of Supreme Personality of God, right? Then Rishabh Dev, incarnation of Supreme Personality of God. I mean, just in this dynasty, I just mentioned 3 personalities who are incarnations of Supreme Personality of God. And the other personalities we read of all these devotees born. So how glorious is this dynasty? imagine one dynasty where the Lord is appearing in three different as the sons or sons of these 5 children. How glorious is that dynasty? So Prabhupada is actually making the point that Vidura is such a great devotee. He would not be interested with any other dynasty. He wouldn't ask like, oh, tell me this the dynasty of some Ambanis or something. I mean, they would be interested in all that. He would say like, tell me that glorious dynasty where Krishna and his devotees are. And that is the interest, right? So Prabhupada in the purport, he says, regulated sex life to generate good population is worth accepting. Right? He focuses on this point. Like, normally sex life is considered, oh, that's like a negative thing. No. But regulated sex life, that too, if Krishna conscious children are actually taking birth, that is most glorious. So Prabhupada stresses on that point. And by hearing the history of this dynasty, one will actually get enlightened, one will get purified. That is how glorious is this dynasty. And hence we want to hear more about this. So, and Prabhupada says, a sex life for creating exemplary population is acceptable by all the sages and authorities of Vedic scriptures. So for sages also, it's like, okay, Grihastha ashram, you're creating progeny. It's a very, very good act. They like previously, what was the tradition? Like even in ISKCON initial days, there was a tradition. When to create progeny, you go to the sages, fall at the feet, and ask for blessings. Even before creating progeny. You say, we seek your blessings, that we want to engage in this act so that we get nice children who are devotees of Krishna. So it's actually a glorious act, if done in the right consciousness. Right? So that's Prabhupada's point. Right? All the sages would actually bless, oh, may you have a devotee child, in that way. Like even in the ISKCON society, initial days, they actually talk about, heard from Prabhupada disciples that, even before union, they used to go to other devotees and ask, please give us your blessings. And also, like, we have heard that devotees actually perform kirtan, before the couple is actually going to create progeny. They do kirtan all the way, and then it's like, okay, now you can go create progeny. Now your atmosphere is very nice. So their blessings are there. Prabhupada talks about that. So those families where it is like so nicely done, done in a proper way, in the proper consciousness. Then even in Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? Dharma virodha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatashrava. That union, which is actually done for creating nice progeny, I am that sex life, Krishna is saying. So Krishna is right there. Next verse. Next two.
Next two. Priyavrata napado suto swayam bhuvasya vai yatha dharmam jugupatu saptadvipavatim mahim.
Hare Krishna. The 2 great sons of Swayambhu Manu, Priyavrata and Uttanapada, ruled the world, consisting of 7 islands, just according to the religious principles. Hare Krishna.
So here the Priyavrat, 2 sons are mentioned. Oh, sorry. Swayambhu Manu's 2 sons, Priyavrat and Uttanapada. Like, what is the first line? Priyavrato Uttanapado. So Priyavrat and Uttanapada, 2 sons. And what did they do? They are the Suta, they are sons. Yata dharmam jugupataha. That means they rule how? According to religious principles. And hence their ruling is worth hearing. Right? Why does Krishna actually appear? To establish dharma. And when these kings are actually ruling in dharma, then they are actually showing us what does it mean to rule according to dharma. Right? See, now if you ask anyone, what does it mean to rule according to dharma? Like the concept is so foreign that they don't even know what does it mean to rule according to dharma. But by learning these kings and how they rule, we can actually know what is ruling according to dharma. Right? So hence the activities of these pious kings are worth hearing for the benefit of all people. And then the last line says Sapta Deepam Mahim. Right? Mahim referring to the earth, and Sapta Deepa. Right? So this is our geography class. How many continents are there? 7. Like even in a geography class we learn, right? So Prabhupada actually talks about it in the purport. He says 7 islands are still current. Asia, Europe, Africa, America, Australia, North Pole, South Pole. And they're still there. And Bhagavatam is already giving us that information. Right? So these 7 islands are actually there. And so this is the geography class from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so when we go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, what do we say? Everything is there. Geography is there, then politics is there, sociology is there, culture is there, then scientific theories, then cosmology is there. Everything is there in Bhagavatam. Right? That's why you study Bhagavatam, you get all the information. Text 3.
Text 3. Tasya Vaidurika Brahman Devahuti Vishruta Patni Prajapatir Ukta Kardamasya Svayanagha.
O holy Brahmana, O sinless one, you have spoken of his daughter, known by the name Devahuti, as the wife of the sage Kardama, the lord of created beings.
Right. So basically here is saying, O Brahmana, Anaga. We hear this word again and again. Anaga means sinless. O sinless person, you mentioned about Devahuti. Right? You have spoken about Devahuti, who is the wife of Kardama Muni. Right? Kardamasya Tvaya Naga. Right? So wife of Kardama. And she is the Patni Prajapati. She is the wife of the Prajapati Kardama, and you mentioned about him. So naturally he's thinking that I want to hear more about that. Yes, there are the different lineage of Swayambhu Manu, but here I'm already giving a hint that please start off with this conversation of Devahuti and Kardama. And so Prabhupada in the purport he says, here when it talks of Manu, which Manu is it talking about? The Swayambhu Manu. Which is our Manu right now?
Vaivasvata.
Vaivasvata Manu. Right? So here when it says Tasya of that Manu, it is referring to Swayambhu Manu. Like now people are like, oh, you need to know who's the president, who's the prime minister, vice president. You should ask people, do you know who is our Manu? He's the father of mankind. And if you don't know, please buy one set of Bhagavatam, then you'll come. Okay, next, text number 4.
Text 4. Tasyam Savai Mahayogi Yuktayam Yoga Lakshanai Sasarja Katidha Viryam Tanne Shushrushavhe Vada. Vijay Radhika.
Hare Krishna. Translation. How many offsprings did the great yogi beget through the princess, who was endowed with eightfold perfection in the yoga principles? Oh, pray, tell me this, for I am eager to hear it. Hare Krishna.
So basically here he's saying why he wants to hear about them. And he says, Tasya Saha. So in that Kardama, in that Kardama Muni, Mahayogi. So Kardama Muni is what? He's Mahayogi. He's a great yogi, a mystic yogi. And what is the quality of his wife? Yuktayam Yoga Lakshahi. So both, the husband is a great Mahayogi and the wife is Yuktayam Yoga Lakshana. She's endowed with the eightfold symptoms of yogic perfection. What is eightfold symptoms of yogic perfection? So Prabhupada talks about that in purport. We'll come to that. So she was actually endowed with all the eightfold symptoms. Sasarje Katita Viryam. You know, how did they come together? How did they create progeny? Tanme Vada Shushrusave. I am very eager to hear about this. Please tell me. How did they create progeny? Right? So the point is, when this father is so qualified, the daughter and the wife is so qualified, then naturally the children will be certainly qualified, and hence it's worth hearing. So father is Mahayogi and wife is Yoktayam Yoga Lakshani. So these 8 symptoms of yoga Prabhupada talks about in the purport. He says the 8 divisions of yoga performance are described as control of the senses, number 1. 2, strict following of rules and regulations. 3, practice of different sitting postures. So what is this? Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. Right? So these are the 8. So Devahuti had the symptoms of practicing these 8 perfections. And then by doing this Ashtanga Yoga, what does one get? One gets Ashta Siddhis. And what are the Ashta Siddhis? One can become lighter than the lightest. Right? One can become heavier than heavier. Then one can actually get anything from any place. Like Prabhupada used to say that he knew this yogi, just sitting in one place, he could get a pomegranate all the way from Afghanistan. Just sitting in one place. and get a pomegranate from Afghanistan, just appear. It's all yogic siddhis, right? And that's why we see, like, even in this material world, like some people are just born and they have these siddhis, right? And this is actually just from, because like the way these siddhis work is like, okay, you have these siddhis, and then when you change your body, you may get some residuals of these siddhis are still there. So sometimes some children are born and they have some residual of the siddhis, right? And when they see that they're a little bit special, then they think like, oh, actually I'm God. I'm a Superman. I'm Superman. But this all Ashtasiddhis. There's no indication of like that person is God or anything. But this here point is Devahuti had this 8 siddhis, right? So when both of them are so advanced in yoga practice, naturally their children would be worth hearing of. So please tell me about their children.
The devotees have seen Srila Prabhupada also. He knew it. He didn't show it, but they have seen it. He became lighter than the lighter, and he was just sitting above the ground. And
like the stories of how Prabhupada, like when he used to walk on the beach, people used to see like he's not even touching the ground. So he used to like kind of float through. But yeah, Prabhupada. Anyway, like this point is actually the glory of Prabhupada is not that he can do these Ashtasiddhis, like, right? What did Prabhupada say? Like a reporter came and asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, can you show magic? Because that's how people see. If you just say magic, produce ash or cash, and people are like, oh, this is a sadhu. I want to take initiation from this sadhu. But that is some power you have. That's just like this Ashtasiddhis. It's like kind of mechanical or material, power. That's not your greatness. What did Prabhupada say? My greatness is that I have converted hippies into happies. Who can do that? Imagine ourselves. We may have some small bad habit, and how much time it takes to get rid of the bad habit. And Prabhupada, all these people, the disciples, like when they were engaged in all sorts of nonsense activities. But one moment, give up everything. Getting up 3 o'clock in the morning, attending Mangalarti, 8 to 10 hours out on Sankirtan, this is a life. Immediate transformation, only by the power of association of pure devotee. That is the glory of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. And then Prabhupada also makes the point that formally, when people used to actually say, okay, time for procreation, right? They have we got married. Then before procreating, they used to go and perform austerities. Which example can we think about? Any examples from Bhagavatam? Where they said, okay, now you create progeny. And they said, okay, before doing that, we have to perform austerity. So Prabhupada is actually stressing on the point that because this task of creating progeny or getting children is such an important task, you're bringing someone into this world. So before that, I have to get purified. And Prabhupada also stresses on Garbhodhan Sanskar. But in Bhagavatam, we hear, what examples are there?
One is the sons of Daksha.
And it's the sons of Daksha, right? Anyone else? The Prachetas, right? The Prachetas, like Prachini Bhari told them, okay, create progeny. So before that, we have to get purified. 10,000 years they went and performed austerity before creating progeny. I mean, even Daksha's children, they said, okay, create progeny. Okay, we have to perform austerities. And then what did Narad Muni come? Narad Muni came. They went to, their aim was, okay, we have to create progeny. For that, we have to get purified. So when they perform austerity, Narad Muni came and said, like, why do you want to create progeny? Become brahmacharis. And he created the whole 60,000 sons into brahmacharis. And then Daksha was so upset. He was like, they went to create progeny and you made all of them brahmachari. You all, put them all in ISKCON brahmachari ashram. And then he got so angry. And he said, okay, again, he'll create progeny. And he created 10,000 sons. And then what happened? They said, okay, progeny, go perform austerity. Narad Muni came, again, 10,000 sons, make them all brahmacharis. Why are you wasting time? Just become brahmachari. He converted them to brahmachari. Then Daksha said, Narad Muni is going to, whoever I create is going to make him brahmachari. Let me create daughters. Then he created daughters. And so the point is, like Prabhupada is stressing that this task begetting children is actually such an important thing that before they do that, they actually perfect their life. They purify their consciousness. They perform strict rules and regulations of celibacy. And then, if they are not, not doing that, then say, okay, just brahmachari. So either way, that concept of that celibacy, the purification of consciousness is important. Okay. And Prabhupada says that, that is our Vedic culture. Vedic culture is that of, there is no recommendation in the Vedic culture that whimsically one does this. Oh yeah, okay, this is there, okay, procreate. I mean, it's very systematic, very step by step. Text 5.
Text 5. Ruchiryo Bhagavan Brahman Daksho Va Brahmana Sutaha Yatha Sasarja Bhutani Labdva Bharyam Cha Manavim.
O holy sage, tell me how the worshipper Ruchi and Daksha, the son of Brahma, generated children after securing as their wives the other two daughters of Swayambhar Manu. Hare Krishna.
Right. So basically here he's saying, so first question is Kardama and Devahuti. Who were their offspring? And that we know, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Dev. Now he's saying, see, even for Ruchi, one of the sons of Brahma is saying, Bhagwan Ruchi, that worshipable Ruchi and Daksha. Right? So both of them, he's actually, calling them with so much respect. Bhagwan, Ruchi and Daksha, the sons of Brahma. How did they create progeny? After they married the daughters of Swayambhava Manu. Right? So Labdha Bharyam Manavim. Manavim referring to Manu, Bharyam, right? So accepting the wife as the daughters of Swayambhava Manu. And so Prabhupada, like to Mataji's question, about Prajapati, here it says, all the great personalities who increase the population in the beginning of creation are called Prajapatis. So this is like a more general title, like Rashri Mataji was asking, right? And then, Brahma is also known as Prajapati. Swayambhuva Manu is also known as Prajapati. Daksha, Ruchi, and they are also known as Prajapatis, right? So I think this is a perfect shloka for Mataji's question. Okay. So who are the three daughters? Devahuti, Akuti, Prasuti. Devahuti married whom? Kardama Muni. Akuti married whom? Ruchi. And Prasuti married whom? Daksha. Right? So now we are reading about Kardama and Devahuti. Next canto, fourth canto, first chapter, we'll read about Akuti and Ruchi. Right? They also gave birth to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again. And then we'll read about Daksha. So this will be the sequence. Then we'll come to Uttanapad, the son. Okay. So let's take a quick break now. Any comments up to this point? So these are questions by Vidura. Now we'll see how Maitreya Rishi actually answers these questions. Imagine it's like a class, and after class, the speaker says, okay, do you have any questions? And the audience says, okay, I have so many questions. And then that questions is like one more class. And then the class is getting over and like, okay, more questions. It's like endless class. Keep going, keep going, keep going. The answer is longer than the original class. He gives class of 15 minutes and the question is for like 3 hours. Answer is for 3 hours. Right? And so on. So now this question is actually basically this whole canto and then fourth canto, first chapter. So, okay, any points, anyone?
Prabhuji, I like it. What you said in CC Madhya 22:62. Krishna Bhakti Kale Sarva Karma Krit Hoy. If we are doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna, everything else is taken care of.
Yeah. So we don't have to worry about even the other shloka along this is what? Devarsi Bhutatma Nrinam Pritina Na Rini Kinkaro Ninicha Rajan Sarvatmana Ye Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Paririta Kartam. Once you take shelter of Krishna, then all your debts to Deva, Rishi, demigods, because it says as soon as you take birth in society, what happens? You have debt. Debt to whom? To demigods, to the society, to the rishis, they are giving us knowledge, to our forefathers, right? To general human mankind. We have all these debts. But one need not. As soon as it says, Sharanyam, Sharanyam. As soon as you take shelter of Krishna, all your debts are taken care of. One need not separately fulfill all these debts. So just by doing Krishna, Sarva karma krita. All other obligations are fulfilled. Continue.
Also, Prabhu, that verse, Sarve punsa paro dharma, apratiyata ahituki bhakti adokshajani. The sense of
The highest dharma is actually devotion to Krishna. Thank you. Any other points?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, the main point is like Shraddha and faith in Lord Krishna. That is the main thing, whatever we are doing. But here in Prabhupada ji explained that regarding the like Pindadan and whatever, all this the ceremony, but the devotee has to like faith in Lord Krishna and offering, and then that Vishnu Prasad, that is the very main important point.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, so let's take a 5 minutes break. We'll come back. We'll continue with text number 6. It's a very interesting section, very nice section, very sweet. So we'll continue with text number 6. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, please everyone come back. It's a very nice section we're going to read now. Let's continue. Text number 6.
Text 6. Maitreya Uvacha Prajasrijeti Bhagavan Kardamo Brahmano Ditaha Sarasvatyam Tapastepe Sahasranam Samadasha. Arundhati Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. The great sage Maitreya replied, commanded by Lord Brahma to beget children in the gods, the worshipful Kardama Muni practiced penance on the bank of river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years.
Right, so we discussed how when these sages are actually asked to create progeny, they actually first go and perform austerity. So here, to answer Vidura's question that, okay, how many children did Kardama and Devahuti have? Both of them so empowered in yoga, advanced yogis. How many children? So first he's talking on the austerity that Kardama performed, right? So Brahmana Udita, after being actually ordered. So here is interesting, the word Brahmana refers to Brahmaji, right? So if you see the word Brahman is like used to Brahman effulgence, or it could actually refer to a Brahmana, or it could here referring to Brahmaji. So context, right? So after being commanded by Brahma, Prajashrija, to actually beget children, Bhagwan Kardama, again, you see like previous verse, Ruchi were actually called Bhagavan, right? Ruchi and Daksha. And here, Kardama is called Bhagavan, right? So if you see Bhagwan and then Balaram, oh, sorry. Okay, so Bhagavan Krishna, and then like Brahmaji is also called Bhagavan, and then here the Prajapatis are also called Bhagavan, right? So they are empowered by the Lord. They are such great personalities that they are worshipable. Right? Then what did he do? Sahasranam Samadasha. So for 10,000 years, he performed austerities. And where did he do? On the banks of river Saraswati. The Prabhupada in the purport makes the point that Kardama 10,000 years. Imagine, right? We live for like 70, 80, 90 years. 10,000 years he performed. And Valmiki Rishi, we hear 60,000 years he meditated. 60,000 years. That's like, it's amazing, right? 60,000 years. I think about it like, we live 100 years, right? So 10,000. Right? So it's like 100 lifetimes. 100 of our lifetimes he performed austerity. And why I'm making this point? Because Prabhupada is actually using this point in the purport where he says that they used to do yoga, and that kind of Astanga yoga is meant for people who used to live so long. In this age of Kali Yuga, where we live for 60, 70 years, that Astanga yoga is not possible, right? So Prabhupada, that's his main point. Like in Astanga yoga, what are the steps? Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, right? Now, if you see in Kali Yuga, when you talk of yoga, they don't follow Yam Niyam. Yam Niyam is rules and regulations, do's and don'ts. They don't follow this. They do what? Yam Niyam. Asan they do. Pranayam they do. These two. Number 3, number 4. But that's just preliminary. And people who can actually do this this basic like asana and pranayam without even a spiritual objective, then everyone gets so impressed. Right? Like in India, there's this famous yogi, right? Everyone knows who I'm talking about. Like so famous that it's amazing. Like a few years back, that everyone, almost like everyone was influenced by this yogi and they started doing, pranayama and asana. It's okay for health reasons, but the point is like to consider that kind of yoga as perfection. That is a problem, right? So asana, pranayam, and anyone who does that, oh, Surya Namaskar, you can do 50 times. So impressive. Wow, so impressive. People get impressed by such things, but these are only preliminary stages. Actually, if someone can actually sit for 2 hours, chant Hare Krishna, that is really impressive. Because that is the perfection of all this yoga. That is the real glory. All the others are just preliminary. It's like basics. So Prabhupada hence makes a point that in Kali Yuga, what is the thing? Bogus yoga system, Prabhupada says. And what is it? When people say, okay, you do pranayam, you do asana, and 15 minutes you meditate. and then you'll become God. What is that? When people actually believe such people, they say like, yes, I can become God by chanting a mantra. So hence Prabhupada says, the age of Kali Yuga is the age of bluffing. Everyone is just bluffing, right? Age of cheaters and cheated. That's what is Kali Yuga. So therefore, what is the main thing in Kali Yuga? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Right? That's how Prabhupada concludes this purport. Next, text 7.
Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Sir, Prabhuji, like Valmiki Muni, he was I heard he is a hunter, Prabhu. Like, when did he do? How do we? What is the context, Prabhu, for 60,000 years of meditation?
So you know how, yes, he was a hunter, and then he said like,
Yeah.
okay, cannot chant the name of Ram, say
Yeah.
Mara, right? And then Mara, 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 Mara became Ram, right? Then he actually performed austerity. That's what it said. That's the time that is referred, that after he transformed. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, text 7.
Text 7. Tata samadhi yuktena kriya yogena kardamaha samprapade harim bhaktya rapana varada shusham.
During that period of penance, the sage Kardama, by worship through devotional service and trance, appropriated the personality of Godhead, who is the quick bestower of all blessings upon those who flee to him for protection.
So Tataha, in that penance, what kind of penance did he do? Samadhi yuktena. Samadhi yuktena, with his mind actually completely focused, right? Samadhi yukta. Yukta means with that samadhi. So with his mind completely concentrated. And then Kriya Yoga, right? Everyone has heard of Kriya Yoga? So it's very interesting that Prabhupada in his purport, he translates Kriya Yoga as Bhakti Yoga. And Prabhupada does that because the point that Prabhupada makes in the purport that, what austerity did Kardamuni do? One way he did that Astanga Yogi, but it was Astanga Yogi with devotion to Krishna. Doing that yoga in an intention of giving pleasure to Krishna or connecting to Krishna, right? So hence his kind of yoga was following these, Asta Anga, but with the goal of connecting. Hence Prabhupada says, Kriya Yoga, he translates as Bhakti Yoga. So he was actually worshipping the Lord in trance with Samadhi Yuktena in devotional service, right? And by that, what did he do? Samprapade Harim. By that, he actually propitiated, or he actually invited the Lord, or he actually served the Lord, and he actually got darshan of the Lord, right? Bhaktya prapanna varada susam. So the last line is very interesting. Prapanna varada daushan. Susam, right? So he says actually, who is the Lord who propitiated? The one who is actually gives blessings to those who have surrendered in devotion. The Lord has so many different names, but here the Lord is called as one who actually gives blessings to the surrendered souls. So he actually invited or called upon the Lord by his 10,000 year meditation. Right? So Prabhupada again in this purport, similar theme to the last purport, but he actually says in this age of Kali Yuga, this Ashtanga Yoga is not possible. The only is possible is a direct method. And he says, right, and he says, especially in Kali Yuga. And he says in this age of Kali Yuga, direct method is especially more feasible than the indirect because people are short-living, intelligence is poor, they're poverty-stricken, and so many disturbances. Which shloka is this? We learned this. First canto. Famous shloka.
Manda sumanda mataya manda bhagya.
What's it starting? Prayena alpasya
Prayena
Kalo asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadeta. And you remember how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he translates this verse? Right? The Prabhupada says these are qualities of people in Kali Yuga. Prayana, their age is short, duration of life is short, Prayana alpa ayu, right? And then and then they say manda sumanda, they are lazy, they are misguided, they are always disturbed. And you remember how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he actually translated this shloka? He said, yes, even so people in Kali Yuga, their life is short, right? 60, 70 years, right? That is so. So their life is short. And in that, they're so busy that they have no time for spiritual life. That is the situation of everyone in Kali Yuga. But even if someone makes time for spiritual life, then what happens? So he actually relates all these points as one after another. Even if someone has time, then prayena alpa ayusa, they are lazy. Right? Someone says, okay, I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. But they're like, yeah, I know I should do it, but aaj man nahi kar raha. I don't feel like doing it. We become lazy. And then we don't do it. So even if someone makes time, they're lazy, they don't do it. But let's say someone is making time and is not lazy. Then what happens? Then the next quality is sumanda matayo. They are misguided. They say, okay, I want to go in a spiritual life. I'm not lazy, I'm determined, but they're easily misguided. They'll go to someone and say like, okay, chant this mantra, become God. Yeah, that's what I'll do. They're easily misguided. But let's say someone is not misguided also, someone actually. Then what happens? They are unlucky. They're unlucky. And even if someone is not unlucky, someone comes finally to the Hare Krishna movement, he says like, no, I have to practice spiritual life. Then what happens? Last quality, they're always disturbed. Right? So even if someone comes like us, we come to the Hare Krishna movement, we come in contact with pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, but we take up the process, but the mind is always disturbed. This is the symptoms of people in Kali Yuga. Hence, Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us greatest boon. He's given the highest gift to the most unqualified, right? Which is the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Just by this, just by chanting Hare Krishna, one can attain the highest perfection. Then further, Prabhupada also makes the point that how Karda Muni, he worshipped the Lord through devotional service, and the Kriya Yoga, Prabhupada talks about that. So it is meditation plus devotional service. Right? And Prabhupada says, remembering is meditation also. So when we do Smaran, when we actually remember the Lord, that is our meditation. Right? When you're chanting the name of the Lord, that is our meditation. When you're remembering the Lord, that is our meditation. Right? But how can we do Smaran? What is the prerequisite for doing Smaran? How can one remember the Lord? What is accepting Him?
Love for God.
Okay. I mean, love for God is, okay, that's the result, but how can you have love for God?
You to know about the God. Shravanam, you should hear.
Yes, that's the key point, right? So Prabhupada is actually saying, yes, we remember the Lord. Remember is meditation. But how can you remember? You have to hear. Without hearing, how can you do Smaran? Right? If someone says, okay, think about Krishna. I'm like, I didn't know Krishna. What will I think about? How will I remember Krishna? Right? Unless we hear about the glories of Krishna, the beautiful form of the Lord, how he's holding with threefold bending form, his beautiful pastime, how can we do Smaran about it? Right? So there's actually also Prabhupada in Nectar of Instruction, text number 8, Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtana, that verse, Rupa Goswami actually makes the point, right? That in Neophyte says one should engage in hearing Harikatha. And then we become what? Shravana Dasa. Right? Shravana Dasa. And then after we hear the Harikatha, then we have to, the next stage he says, one can actually accept. Then we actually say, okay, yes, Krishna is real. These are the qualities of Krishna. Then we come to the next stage of Varana Dasa. And when it comes to the stage of acceptance, then it actually says, then one can actually come to the stage of Smarana Vasta. That is the stage of remembering. Then we can remember the Lord. It will come only through hearing. Hearing and accepting. Hearing and accepting. Okay, what we are hearing, yes, this is increasing our faith. This is Krishna. This is Krishna. Krishna is a personality. He's our well-wisher. This is Krishna. This is how he looks. This is what he does. So we hear here. And then we can remember. That's Smaran. And so last point the Prabhupada says in the purport, he says people in Kali Yuga, they want to be cheated. Therefore, Supreme Personality of Godhead sends great cheaters just to mislead them. Why would Krishna send cheaters? Prabhupada says, right? Last and thus the Supreme Personality of God sends great cheaters who mislead them in the name of yoga and render their life useless. And why would Krishna send cheaters?
Krishna is facilitating what our desire to, because we want it to be cheated.
So the main point is because we want to be cheated, like, I mean, isn't that cheating mentality in there in all of us? Like, in the sense, like, no one wants to give the full price. Right? If someone says, okay, I'll give you a iPhone for $40, like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, $40, I will take it right now. No one wants to pay the full price. So we want to be cheated, and if you say, okay, I want iPhone for $40, what will you get? Probably get a replica of an iPhone. You won't get a real iPhone. That's not the price, right? We have that tendency that I want the best, but I don't want to pay the price for it. And that's what is the mentality when it comes even to spirituality, to religion. Yeah, I want the best. I want Krishna to give me all, good opulence, good business, everything. But I don't want to pay the price. Once a week, I'll go do this puja, Satyanarayan Katha, and that's it. So people have that tendency for cheating. Even God, God is meant for serving. You have to serve God. But that's not the mentality. It's just like business. Okay, and also like this puja will get me this business here. That's what you do, the minimum, and that's it. So because that is the tendency of people, so Krishna facilitated. Okay, that's what you want. Here, at least do something. At least do something. So that. But whose mistake it is? It's our mistake. Krishna is just facilitating those cheaters so that at least something we do. Okay. Is that a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes. So when they say here that sage Kardama worshipped personality of Godhead, and in the purport it says Godhead Hari, which form of the Lord is he meditating on? Because they're not at this time, they're not aware of Krishna's form, right? They know Vishnu and Narayan, but not Krishna.
That's why this Astanga Yoga. So Kardam Muni, like when we talk of Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, what is that? Yam, Niyam is okay. Do this, don't do this, right? Don't do things which are unfavorable to your meditation. Don't be distracted, right? So anything that distracts you from meditation, let's stop all that. Focus on things that are favorable. So that is Yam, Niyam. Then Asana, they actually have nice sitting posture. They practice that. Then Pranayam. So, and then all these leads to what? Higher states of meditation, right? Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. So when they are going through the Astanga, as such, it is actually a mechanical process that leads to that meditation. And when the meditation becomes so strong, one can actually see the Paramatma in the heart. And then when you see the Paramatma, they're seeing the 400 form of the Lord. So, and then hence the perfection of Dhyana Yoga is Samadhi. Samadhi means to see the Lord in the heart, right? And once they see the Lord, then they're like, oh yeah, this is the Supreme. Let me actually serve Him. So the perfection of Astanga Yoga is to engage in Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga starts with service to the Lord, right? So that's the form actually, the 400 Vishnu form in the heart. And that's why he did Astanga Yoga. And then when he reached Samadhi, then he did, okay, now I have to engage, serve the Lord with devotion. So it was Astanga Yoga with that devotional mentality. And we'll see now. The Lord will reveal Himself, and we'll see how the Lord is described.
Okay.
Okay, this purport is okay. There are many points in this purport, but nice purport. Okay, text number 8.
Text 8. Tavat prasano bhagavan pushkaraksha krite yuge darshayam asatam kshatah shabdham ramadadhad vapuhu. Kushalya Mataji.
Mataji, I can't read right now. Please go ahead.
Sorry, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, it's my turn.
Oh, sorry. Who's turn? Vamsi Gopapu? I'm confused. Sorry.
Oh, is it my turn, Mataji?
It's Kushala's turn.
Yeah, Kushalya Mataji. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Someone just read.
Kushalya Mataji.
Hello, Hare Krishna. Sorry, it was mute.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
thought someone is reading, so that's why I mute. Okay. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Then, in the Satyuga, the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, being pleased, showed himself to the Karda Muni and displayed his transcendental form, which can be understood only through the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
So now it's described that how when Karna Muni did this 10,000 year devotional service, Kriya Yoga, right? Then here is saying, Krite, when was this? In Satya Yoga, right? So Krite is referring to Satya Yoga. Prasanna Bhagwan. Bhagwan was very prasanna. He was pleased with Karna Muni's austerity. And then Pushkara Akshara. Pushkara Akshara means lotus-eyed Lord. Right? What is another name for lotus-eyed Lord?
Pankajaksha.
Pankaj. Yeah, Pankajaksha or Pankaja Netra. How Queen Kunti says, Namaha Pankaja Netra.
Pankaja Netra.
So lotus-eyed Lord. So that Lord, Darshayam Asha, he showed himself to Kardama, right? And how did he show? Brahma Dadat Vapuhu. His Vapuhu, his body was that of that original form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Or Satchidananda Rupam. One way we can say Brahma Dadat Vapuhu, his form of Satchidananda Vigraha. And this form is Shabdam. Shabdam means what? Can be only understood through the Vedas. Right? It's not that Kardama Muni performed austerity for 10,000 years and he imagined some form of the Lord. Not imagine, right? This is actually the form of the original form of the Lord. So hence that word Shabdam is actually used. That original form of the Lord, the transcendental form of the Lord, which is actually understood only through the Vedas, which repeatedly throughout Shastra, the descriptions of the form is given. That is the form Kardama Muni actually saw. So Prabhupada says 2 points are very important in this purport. First is the point that Kardama form saw the original form, not some imaginary form. And second is how this form can only be understood through the Vedic scriptures. Right? It's not that we concoct that, oh yeah, maybe Krishna looks like this, maybe. No. Is that in the Vedas? That's how we see the form. Next verse, text 9.
Text 9. Satam virajam arkabham sita padmotpalasrajam snigdha nila lakavrata bhaktrabjam virajom varam.
Kardama Muni saw Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is free from material contamination in his eternal form, effulgent like the sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies. The Lord was clad in spotless yellow silk, and his lotus face was fringed with slick, dark locks of curly hair. Hare Krishna.
So next 3 verses will describe the form of the Lord that Kardama saw. So 5 points are mentioned in this text 9. First is Virajam, the form that Kardama saw. So not a material form. So no contamination in the form. It's completely pure spiritual form. First Viraja. Second, Arka Abham. And how was the form? It was effulgent like the sun. You saw the form, it was like bright, shiny like the sun. Then third, Sita Padma Utpala Srijam. And that form had a garland, and the garland had Padma, lotuses, and water lilies. So imagine there's like a verse to visualize, picturize. So you actually made it in your mind that, okay, this is a form of the Lord. He's wearing this white garland, like white lotuses and lilies. Right? And then Signa Nila Alka Vraka, and he's go to Vaktra Abjam. So basically he's saying that on his beautiful face, there was so many abundance of locks of hair, right, which was actually covering his forehead. So slick, blackish blue locks of hair was in abundance on his lotus-like face, so all over his face. And that's number 4. Number 5th is Viraja Ambaram. He was wearing a spotless yellow dhoti. So that's 5. Next verse, text 10.
Iritinam pundalinam shankachakra gadadharam shvetot malakridanakam manasparsha smitikshanam.
321:10. Adorned with a crown and earrings, he held his characteristic conch, disc, and mace in 3 of his hands and a white lily in the 4th. He glanced about in a happy, smiling mood which sight captivates, whose sight captivates the hearts of all devotees. Hare Krishna.
So another 5 points. So 5 points in previous verse describing the form of the Lord. Next points, number 6, Kiritina. Kiritina means crown. He was a crown. He had earrings, Kundalina. And then first is mentions 3, Shankha Chakra Gada. So 4-handed form, the Shankha Chakra Gada. And then in the last one, normally it's a lotus. Here it is described as a white lily. Right? White lily. And then Kridanakam Manaha. And then what was he doing? The Lord had a glance, a very sweet glance and a sweet smile. Right? And then that glance and smile of the Lord would touch the heart of anyone who beholds the beauty of the Lord. You see the form of the Lord and you'll appreciate, wow, so sweet form of the Lord. So sweet smile, so sweet glance. Text 11.
Vinyasta charanam bhojam amshadeshe gurutmataha drishtva ke vashtitam vaksha shriyam kostubhakandaram. A golden streak on his chest, the famous Kostuba gem suspended from his neck. He stood in the air with his lotus feet placed on the shoulders of Garuda.
So, Vinyasta Charana Ambujam Amsha Deshe Garutmata. So, where was the lotus feet? So, he was coming on Garuda. So, his lotus feet was placed on the shoulder of Garuda. Right? So, that's described here. Then further it says, Vaksha Shriyam. So, he had the Kastuba Kandaram, right? The golden streak on his chest, the famous Kastuba gem, was actually suspended from his chest. So Prabhupada makes the point that these verses from 9 to 11 is actually describing the original form of the Lord. It is not some imaginary form. Even Shankaracharya, who actually preached the proponent of Sankhya, impersonalist philosophy, even he made the point what? Narayana Paravyakta. That Narayan, the form of Narayan, is beyond this world. Paravyakta. Right? So it has nothing to do with the material. It's not material. This is actually completely spiritual. And then further, Prabhupada makes a point that after 10,000 years, it's not a sound like 10,000 years of austerity. It's not that after someone would imagine a form of the Lord. I mean, if you want to imagine, someone may just imagine right now and say, oh yeah, he looks like so-and-so Hollywood star or something like someone may imagine something. Right? It's not imagination. You do 10,000 years, the Lord will reveal himself to you if you do it in bhakti, right? So that's what the Lord has revealed himself. And Prabhupada says, this is the original form of the Lord. Like one of the lectures I was hearing recently, Prabhupada is making the point. So in the spiritual world, Krishna is described. And how does Krishna look? And he started singing Brahma Samhita in the class, in between the class. Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhir abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasra sato sambrava sevyamano govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Angani yasya sakalendra viti, etc., etc. Right? So this is a form of the Lord. Chintamani prakarasad sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhir, so many cows. This is directly a description of Krishna, and the beautiful cows and Goloka Vrindavan. So it is right there. It's there in our Shastra. So if you want to know Krishna, study our Shastras. Everything is there. Right? And so we have to, like Prabhupada in the last sentence, he says, these descriptions are authoritative. And a Krishna conscious person, he does 4 things with it. He takes them directly, right? He takes them directly. Not that, oh yeah, this is described, so it may be so and so. No, direct. Krishna's form is described, that's how it is. So take it directly. Then one acts upon it. What does it mean to act upon the form? So when we hear, we actually accept the form. That yes, this is how Krishna looks. Yes, with Shraddha, we accept it, right? We act upon it. Then when you act upon it, then you preach. You tell Krishna, oh, this is how Krishna looks, right? This is how Krishna is. This is a glorious form of the Lord. Anyone who looks at Krishna, he'll forget everything else. This is the beauty of the Lord, right? And the last one, he practices devotional service. So then he actually serves the Lord. He says, okay, this is my Lord. I want to cook for him today. I want to decorate him. I want to dress him today. I want to make a nice garland for him. Right? So that is how. So we read the Shastras. We know about the form of the Lord, right, directly. We accept that form with Shraddha. Then we tell about others how to preach the glories of the Lord, and we worship the Lord. So these 4 things we do, and this is authoritative, right? This is authoritative. Like how Queen Kunti also prays what? Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Abhikshana. Right? You have to hear Shrinvanti. Gayanti, you have to speak, you have to preach. Right? Grinanti, you have to accept this. Right? Accept. Abhikshana. Okay, and let's see what else. Yeah, Abhikshana actually means constantly, right? Then after Smaranti, Nandanti Tavihitam Janaha. Then you have to remember him, right? And you take pleasures in other people actually thinking about him and so on. Okay, now text number 12.
Jata harsho patanmurdna kshito labdha manorataha girbhishtva vyagrinat priti swabhavatma kritanjalihi.
Hare Krishna. When Kardama Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desire was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, his heart naturally full of love of God. With folded hands, he satisfied the Lord with prayers.
So beautiful. Imagine like we are performing austerities, doing our devotion service, and the Lord appears in front of us. What's our first reaction? How would you react to the Lord? Right? So it starts Jata Harsha. Naturally, he was so jubilant. He was so happy. Oh, I'm doing all these austerities, and the Lord actually revealed himself to me. Labda Manaharata is transcendental desire. That, oh Lord, I want to see you. It's been so long. I just want to see you. His desire was satisfied. Right? So he was naturally jubilant. His transcendental desire was fulfilled. Apata Murdha Shitam. And immediately he actually fell down on the ground, touching his head to the floor. Right? How we do Danvat Pranam. As when we see Radha Golokan, the first thing, fall on the ground. Right? We touch our head to the ground, offer that respects, offer obeisances. And how? Priti Swabhava Atma. His heart naturally full of love of God. Like we see the form, we're feeling so much love. And out of that love, we naturally offer obeisances. And then Krita Anjalihi, with folded hand, Girbhya Abarnath. He actually satisfied the Lord with his prayers. Right? And that's what we'll see in the next few verses. We'll see what are the prayers that Kardama actually spoke to the Lord. Right? Now, this purport is very interesting, a long purport. Prabhupada is actually talking of Patanjali yoga system, right? And he says that the highest perfection of yoga is what? To actually realize the personal form of the Lord, to see the Lord face to face, right? And then Prabhupada talks Astanga. So there are many points in this. I'll just break it up. So Patanjali yoga system. Prabhupada talks of 4 points here. Or let's say 5 points. First point, Patanjali yoga system. This is the Astanga yoga system. Right. So it actually talks about that how the goal of Astanga Patanjali yoga system is how the soul is transcendently pleased when it meets the super soul. When Atma meets Paramatma, then you can actually attain real satisfaction. That's the first point. Now, this point that Atma meets Paramatma, that itself says that there are 2 personalities. And that actually nullifies the impersonalist theory. First point. Second point, that one practices this Astanga yoga, one becomes free from all material desire and attains the transcendental realization. Right? So, what does by practicing Astanga yoga, what should happen? Our material desires should get purified. And why is Prabhupada making these points? Because currently the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, how they are studied, is more like an impersonalist conception. That you do this yoga to merge into Brahman. But that's not the correct. So here Prabhupada is saying correct understanding, soul, super soul, first point. Second is actually once you become free from material desires. Like the impersonalists, they say, anyway, we have to merge in God, we'll become God. So let's just enjoy. But that's not the right. Virakti should come, right? So that's second. Third is Kaivalya. Kaivalya means how Patanjali Yoga Sutras, like now they transfer Kaivalya as merging of the soul with the super soul. But that's not the right understanding. Like, one of Prabhupada's disciple, his name is Kaivalya. Kaivalya. What is that Kaivalya? Becoming one with the desire of the Lord, one with the will of the Lord. understanding what does the Lord want me to do and acting in that. That is real Kaivalya, right? That's number 3. Number 4, Prabhupada makes a point. When one becomes free from material desires and when he's fixed in the realization of Atma and Paramatma, that is actually experience of Chitta Shakti. Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti means the spiritual Shakti, right? We know there are 3 aspects of the internal energy. So Chitta Shakti, one is actually directly experiencing that Chitta Shakti. So it's not just, some impersonal energy merging. No. In this, you will actually experience the Chitta Shakti. And then the 5th point, Prabhupada says, when one progresses in Astanga Yoga, one actually gets these 8 perfections, right? Ashtasiddhi, we already talked about that. Lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest. One gets these siddhis. But the person who is really on the path of Patanjali or Astanga Yoga, he actually sees these 8 perfections as distractions from his devotion to the Lord. Right? You get these potencies, but you say, if I need it for service to Krishna, I'll accept it. Otherwise, don't disturb me. I don't want to be disturbed by them. Right? So that is the mood. So this is real. So if you have a discussion with someone about Patanjali Yoga, you can direct them to this verse. This actually gives the whole thing. Okay, then, right. So Prabhupada concludes this purport by saying, real devotees of Bhakti Yoga, what is our mood? We accept material necessities of life, absolutely needed to maintain the body and soul together. We accept only what is needed to maintain body and soul together. We refrain from exaggerated material sense gratification. And a devotee is prepared to undergo all kinds of tribulation as provided they make progress in the path of realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So 3 points Prabhupada says here. Our material necessities, we just accept as much to keep body and soul together. No excessive sense gratification, right? Just what is required for body and soul maintenance, we accept it. And prepare to undergo all kinds of tribulations if that helps. So if I have to accept this difficulty so that I can progress in bhakti, I gladly accept. This is the mood of a devotee. Now, next section are the prayers. Okay. So next text number 13.
Text 13. Vishir uvacha jushtam batadya kila satparashehe samsidhyam akshnostava darshanam naha yadharshanam janmabhir itya sadbihir ashashate yoginoruda yoga.
Hare Krishna 13. The great sage Kartama said, O Supreme Worshipable Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled. Having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences, through many successive bursts of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Hare Krishna.
So now Kardama Muni is seeing the Lord right in front of him. And what does he say? Bata. Bata means, oh, almost astonished, right? And then he calls the Lord, oh, worshipable Lord. And he says, you are the reservoir, Akhila Sattva Rasaha. You are the reservoir of all goodness. Right? So Prabhupada explains this. What does it mean? Why is it called the Lord is the reservoir of all rasa? Right? Sattva rasa, goodness. And why is Kardama so astonished? He says, dear, O worshipful Lord, because he's saying, I have not done a suitable sadhana. Right? And further he makes the point, Janma bhi sadbhi asase yogina ruddha yoga. That actually these elevated yogis, they actually aspire to see your form. And for that, they have to take successive births of deep meditation. Right? So birth after birth, they perform deep meditation. And then they can see the form of the Lord. But you, so quickly you give me darshan. And I didn't even do sadhana properly. How amazing this. How merciful you are. You gave me darshan even without proper sadhana. Like, that's his mood of humility, right? He's actually making the point. Right? So that's his mood of expression that, oh Lord, you're so kind. You actually made yourself visible to my eyes. Now, Prabhupada in the purport, he says how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a reservoir of all goodness, sattva, and all pleasure. So, what does this mean? what does it mean by say Akhila Sattva Rasaha, reservoir of all goodness? So Prabhupada actually makes the point that unless one comes to a mode of goodness, there is no question of happiness. Right? So even in Bhagavad Gita, when we see the three modes of material nature, Tama, Raja, and Sattva. And what is the characteristic of Sattva? Krishna says in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What are the characteristics of Sattva?
Like poison in the beginning and nectar at the end.
Okay, that's the aspect with happiness. But in general, that's a result of being in the Sattva. This Sattva, the way Krishna defines Sattva, he focuses on knowledge and happiness. Right? So hence Prabhupada says that only in the mode of goodness one can actually experience happiness. Mode of Rajaha is just a pulling of the mind. The mind is constantly pulling us, how can we be happy? That's the Raja. Tamaha is ignorance. We are not even like, we are just lazy, we're sleeping. So there's no happiness. Happiness comes in goodness, right? So that's the first point Prabhupada says. So unless one comes to a mode of goodness, there is actually no happiness, right? Then further he actually makes a point. And when we actually engage, because in 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says Sattva means the senses are enlivened. All the senses are enlivened with knowledge. Right? So when the senses are enlivened with knowledge, what does that mean? One actually uses the sense in the service of the Lord. Right? So if you see, the perfection of goodness is to come to devotional service. And that's why we say goodness is the best platform to actually rise to transcendence. And that's why our Shastras again and again emphasize raising ourselves, tada rajastamo bhava. Right? You have to give up this rajaha and tama and come to sattve prasidati. Come to sattva guna. So that's what. So Prabhupada makes the point in purport that all the senses should be engaged in relationship with the Lord. And when the senses are naturally, when they're with knowledge, and then we engage them in service of the Lord, that is called bhakti. Which is that verse that says bhakti means engaging our senses in the service of the master of the senses.
Rishikesha Rishikena Sevan.
Sarvopadi vinurmuktam.
Vinurmuktam.
Nirmalam. Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. Bhakti is what? Engaging our senses in the service of the Lord. That is bhakti. Right? And how should we do it? Sarvopadi vinurmuktam. Giving up all the designations. And giving up. I'm not this body. I'm not Indian. I'm not, so and so. My only connection is that I'm servant of Krishna. So hence, in that mood, I'm using all the senses in the service of the Lord. Right? So the highest mercy, Kardama Muni is saying, you gave me the highest mercy, the highest good fortune so quickly, but I'm not even qualified, and you gave it to me. Like when we talk of all the senses engaged in the service of the master of senses, who is the perfect example of this in Srimad Bhagavatam? Who engaged all his senses in the service of master of senses?
Ambarish Maharaj.
Ambarish Maharaj. Savaimana Krishna Padaravindo Vashamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane Karo Harer Mandire Marjanado. With Harer, what did he do? Mandira Marjanado, he cleaned the temple, right? Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarna, with his mouth he glorified the Lord. Shrutim Chakara Chutta Satkathoyate, with the ears he heard about the Lord. Mukunda Lingaya Darshane, with his feet he actually walked to the temple to take darshan of the Lord. Tad Britya Gatra Sparsha Anga Samam. Then further it actually makes a point that he seeing the deity, and then touching the body, so when he said Tad Britya means embracing the body of devotees, or like that embrace. And then with his eyes, what did he do? He actually saw the form of the Lord. So he engaged every aspect of his senses, every sense in the service of the master, right? And so this is what is devotional service. Okay. Text 14. Let's just do one more and then we can stop.
Ye maya hitte hatamed saspat adara vindamase gotam upasate kam Rashi Shakamandiraye Piyesuhu.
Translation, text 14. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nescience. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasures of senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon them.
So first, his point is in the first verse, he actually said, oh, we didn't actually discuss. So another point we didn't discuss in the previous shloka is the point. So we talked about the reservoir of all goodness, but he says like the senses engaged in the service of the Lord. And he's making the point that the perfection of all the senses is when they are engaged in service of the Lord. When we use our eyes to take darshan of the Lord, that is the perfection of our eyes. When we hear Hari Katha with our ears or Hari Kirtan, that is perfection of our ears. With our nose, when we smell the flower offered to Radha Golokananda, that is perfection of our nose. So every sense, when it's actually engaged in the service, that is the perfection. So first verse is saying that now my eyes are perfected. The whole point of my eyes is to actually take your darshan. So my eyes now, my power of sight is now fulfilled. It's the greatest perfection just because I've used my eyes to see you. Right? So that was previous verse. Now having made that point, now he's saying, Ye Mayaya. Only those who are covered with Maya. What did they do? Hatha Medasa. Medasa means intelligent. Hatha Medasa means without intelligence. So only those who are covered with Maya, who do not have intelligence, what did they do? Padara Vindam Bhava Sindham Pota. That lotus feet of Krishna, that can take us. Bhava Sindhu is what? Bhava Sindhu Potam. Bhava Sindhu is the material ocean.
Material ocean.
So this lotus feet of Krishna can take us. They are like the boat that can take us across this material ocean. But those who are covered with Maya, those who are without intelligence, upasate kama lavayatesham. They actually, instead of taking shelter of Krishna to cross over this material ocean, they take shelter of Krishna to what? Kama lavaya, to actually fulfill their material desires. Right? So trivial pleasures, just for trivial pleasures, they take shelter of the Lord. Rasisha kama niraye peace you su. So even though they turn to Krishna and say, Krishna, please help me buy this house, or please help me with so and so, or please, So without intelligence, they turn to Krishna and say, oh Krishna, instead of saying, Krishna, engage me in your service, they say, Krishna, please fulfill my material desire. But the Lord, being so kind, he actually fulfills those desires, right? Rashi, you actually bestow those desires, but actually those desires can be niyare peyi suhu. Even in the hellish condition, those desires are fulfilled. So why should one actually ask for those desires? So only those who are covered by Maya, they have lost their intelligence, they approach you to fulfill material desires. Right? Which is the most famous story Prabhupada says to make this point. Anyone knows? Approaching the Lord for material desires.
There was a lady who was carrying wood on her head and she dropped the wood. And she asked Krishna, just put it back on my head.
Yeah, so that's one story that when lady was carrying a whole pile of wood on her head, hot day, and she was like tired, and then all of a sudden her leg tripped, and then the whole wood stack fell. And then now she's so tired, she's old, she cannot pick up. She said, oh God, help me. And then God heard her prayer, came right in front, said, oh, what do you want? Can you put the stick back on my head? She could ask for anything. She said, God is right in front. She said, oh God, please give me mukti, give me liberation. She could ask for anything. But she just asked, put the stick. And Lord put the stick, he left. And then the lady is thinking, oh, I can ask for anything. I asked for the Lord to put the stick back on my head, to again put the burden on my head. So asking material desires is just like putting the burden back on our head.
Dhruv Maharaj also asks for material desire.
Yeah, that was the other thing. So that's the other Prabhupada that actually says. And then Prabhupada says, when Dhruv Maharaj desired, when the Lord appeared, what did Dhruv actually say? Oh, I was asking for broken pieces of glass. All my material desires is like broken pieces of glass. But now I have found the real diamond. That's you, Krishna. especially glass. You know why glass example is given? See, if something else breaks, you can use some super glue, connect it together. When glass breaks, nothing, no use, it's gone, right? So the material there is just like that, so temporary, it's gone, right? So here he's saying that those who have material desires, their intelligence is gone. Hence they approach you for fulfilling those. Oh, Krishna, please give me this material desire and so on. But you are actually, anyone takes shelter of you, you can actually cross them, take them across the material ocean. That is your glory. Right? Which is another verse where a famous verse where says, we accept the lotus feet of the Lord as a boat that can take us across the material ocean. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Atura Chittana, Matra Spasha Samu, Bhava Right? So this Hari Katha is the boat that will take us across the material ocean. Another famous verse is Samashrita ye pada pallava plavam Mahat padam punya yasho murari bhavam buddhir vatsa padam param padam yad vipadam natesham. That's 1458. Right? It says like Samashrita, those actually take shelter of pada pallava, the lotus feet of the Lord. They are just like a plavam. They are like a boat. And with that boat, what do? Mahat padam punya yasho murari. You can cross over this entire material ocean. Bahamvadi, and the entire material ocean, what it becomes? It becomes the size of the water contained in the hoof print of a calf. Right? Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. So this material world is full of vipada. They don't aspire for this. The devotees, they take shelter of the Lord to actually get out of this material world, not to fulfill their material desires. Okay. Now, after saying this, now what do you think Karda Muni would do? He should ask for some spiritual benediction, right? He just said that only those who are foolish will ask for material. And then next shloka we'll see, next class, Karda Muni will say, actually, I already made the point that only foolish people will ask for material, but actually I am foolish. And hence I'm asking, oh Lord, give me a good wife. That's what Karda Muni is going to ask in the next shloka. Give me a good wife. I need a wife. You know? And it's interesting. So we'll read that. What is the mood there in the next class? Okay. So we'll stop here. So are there any comments, final questions, realizations before we end?
Prabhu, we think asking for the good spouse is material, but our spiritual life is so dependent on our partner too. So I think this is legit desire.
And Bhagavatam is so beautiful that you'll find some sections where it says, material world, why do you want to get entangled? Just become a brahmachari. Give everything. So you can take that section if your mood is brahmachari. You want to get married? Here. Next shloka is perfectly there. Your focus is on spiritual life, Krishna consciousness. I need a nice Krishna conscious partner. You can approach the Lord, and that's what Karda Muni is doing. And that's what we'll read in the next section. So next section is very nice. Actually, they say, whenever they talked of grihastha ashram, right? Especially marriages, when someone gives talk, they normally use some shloka from this chapter or next chapter, because this actually very nicely talks about the mentality of the husband and wife, and why Karda Muni is praying, and how when Devavati comes, how she serves her husband, and how both of them, and there's the aspect of enjoyment, but also the aspect of connecting to God and everything. So nice. It's like really perfect for grihasthas in section.
Prabhuji,
So go ahead, Mataji, please.
no, please finish your thought.
Yeah, after you, please go ahead.
Okay, Rashi.
Hare Krishna. So very funny realization, right? Raj Prabhu and I, we always kind of jokingly ask each other, why do you think we got married to each other? Like, what was it that you saw in me that you got married to me? Because it is arranged marriage. Now it's becoming very clear, because he is the one who has taken me into the path of devotion. So I see that, there is a reason why two people come together, and it need not always be material. To Sri Radhe Mataji's point, it is for one person to lead the other, and this is like a very strong realization. So next time we come up with that question, we have an answer.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for that.
Hari Bol.
Thank you. Vrindavan Vilasimati.
Prabhuji, I was thinking as Kardama Muni is saying, I'm so disqualified, but Krishna is so merciful that he gives this opportunity for Hari Katha and association with the devotees. Hare Krishna.
I mean, Kardama Muni, like 10,000 years he's done this austerity. And then he's thinking, Lord, you showed me darshan. I'm so unqualified. I didn't do anything. And then, in our neophyte stage, we do a little bit like, okay, chant for like a few months. It's like, why is Krishna not showing me? I've chanted for a few months. Why is Krishna not showing me? And here see Kardama mood. This is a real mood. Whatever we do, we are like in the mood of humble. Like, Krishna, you are so kind. I have no qualification, but you are so merciful. Thank you. Okay, any last points?
The perfection of our senses is to engage them in the service of the Lord. So just everything I have is given to me by Krishna. Let me just use it all in his service.
Perfection of our eyes is to see the Lord. Perfection of our nose is to smell. So that's why you come to a temple. It's so nice. The association of devotees, every sense we actually use. We come to a temple, we use our hands, we serve prasadam, we do some seva. Legs, we are just walking in the dham. Anything we smell, it is like, oh, some nice incense that's offered to Krishna. And then you see the form of the Lord, you're seeing devotees, then you're embracing the devotees. That's so perfect. Like, come to a temple, you're engaging all your senses in Krishna's service. That's why coming to a temple is actually so beautiful. So beautiful. So powerful, I'd say. Like, so powerful. Okay, we'll end here. Anyone else? Okay. So thank you all so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So next class, it's actually just one day before Janmashtami. So we may not have a class, but I will confirm, because we're so busy with Seva and like 100 things going on. So we may miss next time's class, but I think we'll continue after. But let's see, depending on how the services go, we may do one short class, maybe 1 hour we can do just to have the continuity. But I'll post on the group and then we will confirm.
Yeah, we all are busy in the temple.
Yeah. So let's see, like either we'll do 1 hour or we may not have a class, but I'll let you know. Thank you all so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasindhubhyeva patinam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Thank you all so much. Tomorrow is appearance of Balramji. Very, very auspicious day. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Pranam
Thank
to
you
all.
so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for Hari Katha.
Hare Krishna.